You're listening to Common Sense and Beer, where we talk about the heavy-hitting topics with a beer in hand. I'm your host, and my Zach, and your other co-host here is
Kyle.
All right, and today we have a guest in the studio with us from the Midwestern Goodbye podcast.
Just the Midwest Goodbye.
Midwest?
We're gonna dock your pay for that one.
Okay, got it.
Well, he's fumbling and crumbling through this already. So.
We have, we're stumbling through it. That's all right, though. It's early. We're not used to being here this early.
That's fine.
But, we have Coltin here from the Midwest Goodbye podcast.
How's it going, everybody?
Today, we're going to cover pretty much just a bunch of current events. We've got Biden. We've got his all of his charges that are being brought up on him, and now they're saying that he's not mentally stable enough.
Maybe he could just come out and say it. He's retarded.
We've got
That was Kyle, the white man in the corner.
and then we've got the whole Tucker Carlson and Putin interview and all that. So there's definitely plenty to talk about. What do you think, Kyle? What do you want to start with?
Oh, well, I think we can dive right into, I guess, Biden, right? Coming out and, the DOJ found that he's just an elderly man and he means well, but his memory's just not there. So, unfortunately, we cannot charge him with the classified documents case. They made a nice distinction that Trump's case is different. But but this guy's just too...
Isn't that cute?
Just too, and that's the politically correct way to say it, but let's just say it. He's too retarded to be charged with a crime that
He's
they're
too
charging.
mentally slow. Oh, he's got vascular dementia. Come on, you can't be mad at him.
Super obvious, right?
Yeah.
And it's almost like mean, but is it? He's the president of the United States, but he's too retarded to be charged with a crime.
But the charges he's being charged with are not from when he was president of the United States. These would stem back to when he was vice president. So
They would stem back.
And senator.
Yes, and I would like to make this argument that Trump has a level of not culpability, but that too. There's a level of things that he can get away with as president, and that he can claim, like, look, I'm in this office, I did this thing.
Right.
Obviously, I should be allowed to do this. I forget the actual term for it, but that's Trump's argument, essentially. I was president of the United States. I can do that. I can change the classification of these documents as I see fit to fit, what I need to do for work. That wouldn't work for Biden because he was not president of the United States. He was vice president of the United States when he did this, which does not hold the same powers that Trump would have as president to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
However, using mental ineptitude as an argument against, like, this is why I did this. I'm old. I forgot.
Yeah.
You're the president of the United States now.
Right.
This is stemming back 4 years.
Yep, absolutely.
But, I mean, you have the popular culture shift or the perception as reality look on it, and you get paid influencers saying, well, he was dropped of all charges. They're not going to charge him with anything. They don't go into depth and say why. You'll have some that say, oh, now they're attacking the guy that wrote the report for saying that he's too mentally incompetent. So there's like two sides that they're attacking.
So do you want him to retract his statement and then we just go right back after him?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's essentially it. And then the guy comes out and does a press conference where he's getting just yelled at by the press and he's not having a good go of it. And hopefully, I mean, that'd be kind of cool if we could bring that up because it's pretty hilarious. It's not too long. Nice.
There you go.
So, but I mean, he comes out there and says, no, his memory's fine. And he's yelling at the reporter and saying how he's just fine. And
Oh, is this Peter Ducey asking him that question? He just like
Was it?
You know what's kind of funny is
That
the way Biden reacts when he gets asked a hard question is exactly how an old person,
yeah.
like an old like geriatric person, would react when
Yep.
you like say something they don't want you to say, and they just get like ultra
Yeah.
defensive on you. Like, oh, what do you say? I fucking
They recede-
curled eyebrows,
Yeah.
pierced lips.
they recede like 3 feet behind their eyeballs. Like that's their whole soul gets sucked up and they squint and it all goes right there
They
behind
claim
their eyeballs.
their
That's where
eyeballs
they're
go
at.
back to the last brain cell for them to project out at you.
That's fine.
This
Yeah.
guy.
About their look into my handling of classified documents. I was pleased to see he reached a firm conclusion that no charges should be
retarded.
brought against me in this case.
Tell him
This
why,
was
Joe.
an exhaustive investigation going back more than 40 years, even into the 1970s when I was still a new United States Senator. The special counsel acknowledged I cooperated completely.
Yeah.
I did not throw up any roadblocks.
No
I
roadblocks.
sought no delays.
None.
In fact, I was so determined to give the special counsel what he needed, I went forward with a 5-hour in-person interview over 2 days on October the 8th and 9th of last year, even though Israel had just been attacked by Hamas on the 7th, and I was very occupied.
He was super
I was in the
busy,
middle of
guys.
handling an international crisis.
Yeah.
I was especially pleased to see special counsel make clear the stark distinction and difference between this case and Mr. Trump's case. Special counsel wrote, and I quote, "Several material distinctions between Mr. Trump's case and Mr. Biden's are clear," continuing to quote, "most
I love
notably,
he
after giving
does
multiple
this shit.
chances to return classified documents to avoid prosecution, Mr. Trump allegedly did the opposite. According to the indictment, he not only refused to return the documents for many months, he also obstructed justice by enlisting others to
I
destroy
think it's
evidence
interesting.
and then to lie about
Could you
it.
pause that for a moment,
In
Joey?
contrast,
You ever noticed whenever you talk about a president or a former president, you always refer to them as president.
Yeah.
And this administration has gone every effort to never
Yeah.
call Trump president.
Yeah.
Every word possible to call him
Mr.
other than
Trump,
or other than president.
just Trump. You know, I'm not trying to like nitpick, but it's
The
like
other guy.
Every time in history, there's never been a point in history where it's like, you know, Bush is still alive. When they refer to him, President Bush. He's not the president, but he was a president.
Right.
He's
Well,
always referred
Biden-
to as President
Obama,
Bush.
President Obama.
Well, Biden has always been, talked about as Vice President Biden.
Right.
Yep.
Even before he was president.
That's how I
everyone
still
said-
refer to him as.
Yeah.
Former Vice President Biden up there right now. Giving a speech.
Former
Yeah,
vice
I mean, that's a good point. There's
But it's almost like a psyop, not
Yeah.
really. But it's
Yeah.
like they're like
It's a
conditioning
programming.
you.
It's
They don't
programming.
want you to call him President Trump. They want you to like, no, he's just Trump. He's just Donald Trump. Don't call him anything other than that.
Did you guys ever dig into the QAnon stuff? Like that wild conspiracy theory?
Which parts?
Like, I mean, the
I
whole
dabbled.
gist of it.
I dipped
The
toes.
gist of it being that we were about to be shown like a movie. It's going to come out to be kind of like a movie scene. It's going to be really obvious to some. And it was supposed to be like a great awakening and all these things. So it's kind of like that gives theory that, Trump saw what they were going to do, let himself loose so that people could see how bad things would become. Because Trump disrupted their 2030 agenda plans. So that's why everything's so fast right now and so crazy, because they have to catch up for 4 years.
Okay.
But essentially that, oh man.
I don't even think you have to get that deep into it.
Right.
There is obviously an agenda they're pushing.
100%.
And
I
Trump
just-
absolutely disrupted it, and
Right.
you can see we need to make up for
Well,
lost
yeah,
time.
that's
We
not
got
the
now,
QAnon
now a guy
stuff,
that we
right?
can rush is in office, and now we
Yeah.
need to rush the shit through.
The 2030 stuff, that's all been documented for years. I mean,
Okay.
that's on UN website. You can look it up right now.
What is this, like WEF?
It's like the
Like
UN.
World Economic Forum.
It's
type?
World Economic Forum talks about it. The UN. It's the UN Agenda 2030.
Okay.
And all this stuff plays into it. The climate lockdown stuff and all of it. It's wild. But I feel like they disrupted that, and you got like the CIA industrial military complex running things. And it's like they're putting on this fake presidency. And watch every time we see this guy.
Is this Peter Ducey asking him a question right now?
Yeah. Get to this question because
It sounded like
it's hilarious.
I feel like I just heard Peter ask him something.
Let's go.
Something the special counsel said in his report is that one of the reasons you were not charged is
Watch his
because, in his description, you are a well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory.
I'm well-meaning, and I'm an elderly man, and I know what the hell I'm doing. I've been president. I put this country back on its feet. I don't need his recommendation. It's totally out.
I am Cornholio.
And can you continue as president?
My memory is so bad, I let you speak.
Excuse me. What?
That's
Your
what
memory has gotten worse, Mr. President.
my memory is not good. My memory is fine.
This is great.
My memory. Take a look at what I've done.
What did Peter
since
Ducey
I've
just
become
ask you?
president. None of you could pass any of the things I got passed. How'd that happen? I guess I just forgot what was going on.
Mr. President.
Voters have concerns about your age. How are you going to assuage them? And do you fear that this report is only going to fuel further concerns about your age?
Only by some of you.
Mr. President, criminal liability today. Do you take responsibility for at least being careless with classified material?
I take responsibility for not having seen exactly what my staff was doing. It goes in and points out things that
Oh.
appeared in my garage, things that came
It
out
was
of my
someone
home,
else's
things
fault.
that-
It wasn't
Say, it's
my
not my fault.
fault.
My
not
staff
by
did
me,
this.
but my staff.
Oh.
But my staff.
My staff.
And to lie about it. In contrast,
No.
we went on to say
Okay, yeah.
Mr. Biden turned in classified documents to the National Archives and the Department of Justice, consented to the search of.
And they have expressed concerns
wait.
about your age.
They're really jumping around a
No,
lot.
you gotta
Yeah.
pause.
That is
Pause.
your judgment.
We gotta find. Oh, is that the same one? Did you just skip ahead, or did that just play into that, like cut into that? Because he literally says how his memory's fine, and then goes on 2 seconds later to forget what his bracelet means.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, and they cut
in this
that
same
out?
thing.
Well,
they cut
this
it
is
out.
on, what is this on, MSNBC? They're not going to show that.
Yeah.
We gotta, can you find like just the whole thing on like the White House YouTube?
Interesting.
Well, yeah, like you said, immediately shifts blame. Look! I don't know what my staff did.
Yeah.
But the-
My
yeah.
my staff
They
put
were
them
up to no
there. It
good.
was not my fault.
I didn't know anything about it.
Not even that they were up to no good. I just didn't know what my staff
Yeah.
did. So I mean, I can't be held accountable or responsible.
I don't remember who brought those into my garage.
I don't even remember what staff it was
My very secure
don't
garage that I'm not sure who was in there or placed it there.
with my classified documents.
I don't even remember my address.
Well, he goes on to say, he's like, these weren't classified documents. I mean, they didn't have any red tape around them or anything like that.
Yeah, they didn't look like the other guys.
They didn't look like Trump's. Trump had classified in
his bathroom.
Not
You remember
President,
that, yeah.
Mr. Trump.
Mr. Trump.
His were
yeah.
classified with a capital C.
Lowercase.
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 Not even bold.
There's a question mark. Classified?
Yeah. Oh, that's
Oh
funny.
man, you're having trouble there, Joe.
Yeah,
It's probably going to be hard to find the exact
Well,
clips you
yeah.
want unless you go find someone who specifically posted it. Because, like you said, there is very deliberate media suppression of things like this. They try to show as much as they can without it
Yeah.
being incriminating enough that it's like, no, you just made their point for them.
Sure. But dude, he has like a moment of dead air where he's like trying to remember because he's like, that's why I always wear this bracelet with Our Lady of. And then he just goes on to talk about something else, and it's just like
He has like a
you're-
Mitch McConnell moment where he just
Yeah.
like strokes
no,
out on
for real,
stage.
like he does, and he's just like,
the dial-up tone comes up.
it's funny.
yeah,
Yeah, it's really hard to believe that there are people out there that are so gung ho behind this guy. When you see stuff like this, it's like, how can you?
And you know what? I don't think there's people that are actually gung ho behind him.
No,
I
they're
think
paid.
people have been so. Dude, the propaganda machine's working.
Oh yeah,
People
100%.
people are absolutely willing to say it. Like, I'd take 4 more years of Biden to not have
yeah.
Trump.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're like,
yeah.
I'm not saying Biden's good. It's just better than Trump. I'm like, why is he better than Trump? Is your life better now in these last 4 years than it was during
No.
the last 4
No.
years?
No.
no,
Pretty much resoundingly no.
I mean, and
gas
that's-
is getting back up above the $3 mark all
Well,
of a sudden.
I was just about to say, besides gas, look at all of the other things. I mean, you're talking about, well, one, the inflation, but you're talking about the
Potential to get involved in foreign
Correct,
wars
yep.
increasing by
absolutely.
tenfold.
So you've got that. You've also got the climate in America right now, which many would argue that it was worse with Trump, with the whole racial divide and all that.
But a
at
lot of
the
that
end
was
the day-
driven by media.
Exactly. And I will say this too, that now it's not so much in your face anymore as much as it was. And I think it's because it's more of a silent issue because people don't want to talk about it. And I mean,
Yeah, people just take their feelings straight to the ballot box.
exactly,
Yeah,
this
exactly.
November.
And
Well, it's the-
or
They're
they'll
like,
go
I'm
on-
done. I'm done talking about it, but
Yep.
I'm like, mine's already made up.
Yep, exactly. So you're absolutely right. The whole the propaganda machine is definitely working, and this is exactly what they were wanting to see, is people making up their minds years before they vote for anybody.
Sure.
That's exactly
Well,
what this is.
I mean, it kind of stems back to our education system, which we do talk about a lot. It comes up a lot because it's.
Oh, I got a lot to say about this education.
Yeah.
But I mean, what we were brought up in, what our parents were brought up in, with their parents, and then you go all the way, to what the current generations, because it was like a roller coaster train. Like, we were pretty much the diminished. There's no more presidential fitness. They didn't really take it seriously
Yeah.
when we were going through
Correct.
school. That used to be something super serious, though. Like,
Have you ever watched like those old physical education classes videos from like the 1960s
Oh
and
yeah,
70s?
where it's like,
They were straight up preparing children for like if we go to war with the Soviet Union,
Yep.
we will have a fucking strong, fit base of
Yeah.
young men.
Gym class was boot camp.
It was
Like a boot camp obstacle
like
course
straight
and
up, like
stuff.
you're doing dips, you're doing pull-ups,
running through
you're
tires,
running
crawling
miles.
under barbed
Yeah,
wire,
like,
climbing walls.
maybe not the barbed wire.
Well,
it wasn't straight
climbing-
militarized, but
yeah,
it was
but it was
essentially-
climbing walls and the ropes.
And those kids were shredded.
jacked.
Oh, yeah.
Like you're looking
Oh, yeah.
at kids like, dude, is this like a steroid injection program, or
Yeah.
were these like straight? It's like, oh, these kids were eating healthy because their food wasn't loaded down with artificial preservatives. They were
Right.
eating natural food from a grocery store that their family grew itself.
being physically active.
And they're getting physically active all day, every day. These kids want to play sports. They want to go out and be outside and be active. They're not sitting in a room staring at an iPad all day.
Yep.
You
getting
know?
all pudgy.
And then when they go to school, physical education is actually a measured, thing that they need to
Oh, yeah.
achieve.
Not
You're
anymore.
falling behind. I imagine there was probably some sort of not fat camp, but it's like you're getting overweight. We're going to put you on like
Yeah.
extracurricular physical
Right.
activity to get you back in
Yep.
healthy range.
Yeah.
Yep.
Your detention is you're running the mile.
right. Right.
Well, now, so my daughter, my oldest daughter, she went like she went like 3 or 4 days where she wasn't wearing tennis shoes to gym class. And she never got docked for it. We didn't know about it. Even on her report card, it said nothing about her not wearing.
Well, because anymore physical education is attendance based. If you
Yeah.
showed up, you get
that's
credit
my
for being
point.
there.
That's my
Right.
point. And it's like, I mean, even when we were in school, if we weren't dressed for gym, we
Yes.
got docked
Yeah.
points.
Correct.
Even in elementary school. I mean, in elementary school, if you didn't have your tennis shoes, you had to sit out, and it showed on your report card that you missed
And
X
you
amount
didn't
of
wanna
days.
miss.
Right.
Or
right.
it's like you're a
Yeah.
kid. You're like, this is the one time in the day, other
Absolutely.
than a recess, that I actually get to run around and be wild.
Yeah.
and
Yeah, it was
get all
horrible
my-
being told you couldn't. You have to sit there and watch everyone else have fun and scream
Right.
and
Yeah.
just, man.
they're doing the giant parachute thing today.
The parachute. Yeah, there was nothing. There was nothing on her report card. The only reason I found out was because I asked her when she was on the way out the door. I said, "Do you have gym today?" I don't think so. So I'm like, "Oh, okay. Well, wear your tennis shoes anyway." Well, then she comes back the next day. Yeah, I had gym yesterday.
Good thing you wore your shoes.
Yeah. I'm like, so how long has this been? She got, so her birthday's in January, early January, and she got these new boots for her birthday, and she's been wearing those to school all the
yeah.
time,
One of those
And
things.
so-
like, look, I got to show off the new kicks.
Yeah, yeah. And
Well,
so
put your tennies in your backpack and
yeah,
bring them so you
exactly,
can do your gym class.
Exactly. And so
Do
I
they not
told
have
her
lockers?
they do. But I told her, I told her, I'm like, you know what? Now for lying to me, you're gonna wear your tennis shoes every day.
Ooh.
Every day. I don't care if you have gym.
Good.
You're wearing your tennis shoes every day.
Got 'em.
And so,
Teach her some accountability.
but yeah, and that was one. So
Pain
I knew.
retains.
I knew. Well, yeah, and I knew that the report cards were going to be coming out soon, so I expected to see something saying that
And there wasn't.
She has a problem remembering to bring tennis shoes to class. Nothing. No comment. No, it was just performing as expected. I'm like,
the expectation,
What the-
man.
Was she? See, I don't know. Maybe they're just letting them do gym and not tennis shoes.
no. I mean, that
no.
is that. Yeah, that is a rule that they have.
Okay.
And so I made it a point when we went for her conferences to go talk to the gym teacher, and he says, yeah, it seems like she has a problem sometimes remembering to bring her tennis shoes.
Why don't you tell me that?
Yeah, exactly.
Why am I having to seek you out to get this
Exactly.
information?
And so I'm like, okay, well, just so you know, we have her bringing her tennis shoes every day now. And he says, okay, well, that's good. That's good then. That'll be fine. And I'm like, how are you not more upset about this?
right.
That'll be
you know,
fine. Just fine.
Like,
That'll be fine. Just fine.
but
You didn't think to
at the
tell me
same
this
time
sooner?
though,
Oh,
at the
man.
same time though, in the climate that we have today with parents the way they are, I'll bet you he was actually relieved to see a parent actually cared somewhat about his kid coming to
Oh,
school
just
with
or
tennis
not
shoes.
or just not go after him
Or
by
not
the throat.
right, exactly.
Because that's probably the other side of it. Why he didn't say anything. Your
Yeah,
child's
yeah.
not
It's
bringing
probably gotten blown
their
up.
child's not
Yep.
bringing your child's not bringing their shoes to class.
Yep.
What are you going to make my kid run?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, that's part of physical education.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just crazy. There's when I was a kid, there was every teacher put some sort of comments on our report cards.
Or you
and-
go to parent-teacher conferences.
Yeah.
I dreaded that a lot
Yes.
because
Yeah.
I always knew. It's like I know all my teachers that were going to be cool, and then I'd like always forget one, and then we're like, oh yeah, we got to go see Mr. Whoever now. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh no.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
about
I
to be in
loved-
so much trouble.
I loved when we got into the middle school and high school age. You didn't have just one teacher; you had several teachers that your parents had to go talk to. And I remember, the report card had just come out, and there were a couple of bad comments. And I'd always try to shift my parents towards the teachers that I knew I was good in their class. And they were like, "Nope, let's go see Mr. Blah blah blah." I'm like, oh, come on. Save them
no.
till last. No, it was first.
I want you
and then-
guys to hear my praises.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe it's better off that they get them at the
I was
praises
just gonna
at the
say.
end.
I was just
Yeah.
gonna say. But that being said, there was still a little bit of skepticism in my parents' eyes when the other teachers were saying that I was doing so well. There was some skepticism. They're like, "Oh, well, we just talked to 3 other teachers that said he's a POS."
In those exact words.
Why is he
Your
good in your
kid.
class? Yeah. So
And I'm grateful that my mom was so good about picking that up because I did horrible in school. Depending on it was always math. I struggled with math horribly, but I was also, I realized, I'm like the one kid out of 30 kids in this class that isn't picking it up the same way they're putting it down.
Right.
But I can never get the one-on-one time. It was always be like, oh, well, she kind of grasped it. I'm going to go work with her and help her get it. We'll deal with you later on. Like, okay. It just felt like it never got dealt with later on.
Right. You're just a lost cause.
I was a lost cause, man. Geometry, though? Oh, my God. I can't believe I picked that up as
Yeah.
easily as I did.
You know,
Algebra, no.
a lot of people hated geometry, and I found it so easy. I was like, this doesn't even feel like a class. Like, this feels like common
Algebra
sense.
was like, might as well have been speaking Martian to me, but
See-
geometry was like, oh, this is
And that's
pretty
weird.
easy.
Yeah.
That's weird because it was easier for me in geometry class. It was easier for me to understand it without the shapes. Just give me the equation and
Yeah.
I'll be able to
Sure.
solve it. But then as soon as you started introducing the shapes and like the angles of the isosceles triangle and all that, I'm like, give me an equation. It was so weird to me.
Well,
but
dude, you the numbers were there. You had to know
Right.
where to put them.
yeah, that and that's fair. And to be honest with you, I think that's one of the big things that geometry is really good for is kind of
I probably would have been better in algebra if I started in geometry first.
Yeah.
I think so too.
And
Well-
then moved on to
well, you're
algebra.
putting- think
It's
about
like,
it.
okay, now just remove the shape from that equation.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because you're putting the algebra into a.
I'm just big dumb brain. They had to give me pictures first. And it's like, okay,
Well, it
now
makes
take the
sense, though,
pictures.
No,
'cause
I
you're
think
putting
I would
it
have had a
in-
better time too.
well,
that
you're
way.
putting it in a practical setting.
Yeah.
Something that you can actually use this stuff for,
Right.
rather than
Right.
So I guess it definitely makes sense, but why you need the both of them?
So it's just crazy how much like math goes into what I do now, but it's like I don't actually have to mess with the math.
Yeah.
But it's like everything behind my industry is all construction based industries. It's so much math.
Yeah.
In any
Really.
engineering field.
And I've always been like, I'm horrible at math. I'm like,
Yeah,
then I think
same.
about it. I'm like, I do a lot of math every day.
Right.
Actually, I'm really good at fraction math now. That's what
Oh,
I am.
man.
Well, I've got a person in my family that he's a machinist. He has been for most of his life and refuses to believe that he does any algebra in a day. And it's like, come on, dude. You've got a part that there's a length missing. You've got the overall length of the piece that you're doing, and then you have this measurement here. Figure it out. You've got 2 other, and he can figure it out, no problem. But as soon as you write it down on
Congratulations,
paper,
you've just completed an algebra equation.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly. But he still refuses to believe it, even when we point it out to him. But
That's all right. Some people are set in their ways.
yeah.
Yeah.
But getting back to, I mean, I know the education comes into this too, especially when you talk about the propaganda machine, because the younger you can get kids believing some of this stuff,
Well,
the
it's-
easier it is for you to,
And
get
it's
them where you want them.
they got like a really smart tactic they did was the whole attacking critical thinking. Where it's like they're telling you what to think instead of how to think.
Oh yeah, that's
'Cause
huge.
you
I'm
saw
telling you
that
how to
huge-
think too. Have you seen the simple math shit that they do in school now?
No.
It was like, it's like something simple like 18 plus 7, and they build a whole pyramid for how to do this
they
math, and it's
put
like,
it in
what?
like create the
It's like,
blocks.
what happened to just using your fingers
Yep.
or something? It's
Yeah.
like, okay,
Math's
it's not
like
that much.
art class now.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, show your work. I'm going to need a separate binder.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot my cubes binder at my house.
Man, dude. Yeah. No, math
I've
is
been on the
weird now.
lookout for that, to be honest with you. I haven't seen it yet. But that being said, here's another frustrating thing, too, is they don't bring homework home.
Really?
They do all of the work in class.
I think that's by design.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I bet you it is. They don't
I
want you.
think it
They
is.
don't want you coming home and your parents looking like, "What are you doing right now?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, at the
Yep.
same time, though, should we still have the thought that kids should have homework? You know, you're making
See, I'm
it.
torn because I hate homework.
I
I'm like,
hated homework as a
how
kid.
can I spend 8 hours in a place during a day and I
what I
can't
love.
complete my workload?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're conditioning them that when they go into the workforce that they are supposed to bring their work home.
True.
Well, I like the idea. Well, I liked the idea that my daughter had in her second grade class. Her second grade teacher said, anything that you don't finish in class, you take home and finish it that night.
Right.
And I liked that idea because it wasn't assigned homework, but
Sure.
it let the
If you
parents
cannot
know.
complete this task in the
Right.
time allotted, you
Right.
will have to finish it on your own time.
Right.
But-
And the one thing I liked about that too is the parents got to see, okay, well, she wasn't paying attention in class or she's struggling with something. It's obviously something that we need to put on our radar so we can help teach her at home so she doesn't fall behind. That's what I liked about it. But now there's no homework whatsoever.
Yeah.
Another thing, what I think you need to do, Zach, especially Sam being an English teacher, she
Yep.
needs to go get an encyclopedia, like the whole edition, like 12 books of everything. And then when she says, I don't know that word, the book's over here, go look it up. That's what
Right.
I had to do.
It's the internet
Yeah.
now.
Oh yeah.
No,
Never-
I,
no, no,
I
no.
wouldn't even do the internet. No, like you have to
Make them go,
physically look it
go
up.
use that
Some of those
Encyclopedia
encycl-
Britannica and figure it
The
out.
old ones
Well, I have-
too, man.
I
They're
have my
discontinued.
youngest-
They're selling them out at the libraries even.
I have my youngest daughter. She's probably still doing it as we speak. I have my youngest daughter writing 60 sentences of "I will not hit my sister."
Uh-oh.
Oh man, you're doing the Bart Simpson on her.
Oh, I'm 100%.
No, pain retains.
It's still funny though.
That I did.
I've had
Even
to
when
do
I
that
got in the
before.
Marine Corps,
I've had
I was
to do that
a
in elementary
20-year-old Lance Corporal in the freaking Marine Corps. Yeah. And sorry, call
You're
myself.
good.
No, you're
good.
fine. We're probably gonna end up just switching to that way eventually.
Yeah,
anyways.
probably.
No, I didn't. I know you guys try to keep it as PG-13 as possible.
I think we get to drop one.
I didn't say the whole
You
word.
didn't say it, so we still have one.
But yeah, as a 20-year-old Lance Corporal in the Marine Corps and messing something up and just getting told by my squad leader, he'd give me a sentence. He's like, that's a discipline deficiency. I want you to write out discipline is the. Now I can't even remember it.
Uh-oh. Pain apparently does not
Discipline
retain.
is the instant and willing obedience to orders with or without the presence of leadership. And I wrote that out like
Oh,
500
rushing
times.
back to you.
Yeah, it did.
Painfully to the wrist.
I could see the Right in the Rain pages that I wrote it on as I waste this whole $20 Right in the Rain with one task
no.
of writing out sentences.
Nice.
But you know what I mean? It was just like I was so irritated doing it, but I
Yeah.
never made that mistake again.
Well, and that's the thing. So my oldest daughter did this. My oldest daughter was actually really getting bad with the hitting, and so she was hitting her younger sister. And I noticed that she'd always do it with her right hand when they sit on the bunk bed watching TV. My oldest daughter was always to the left of my youngest daughter, and so she'd hit her with her right hand. And so she's left-handed.
Mm-hmm.
So I made her write 100 sentences of "I will not hit my sister" with her right hand, with her non-dominant hand.
right-handed,
Yeah. And halfway through, she started crying, upset that she had to do this. And,
She's actually, sorry to interrupt, but she's not left-handed. She's wrong-handed.
He was actually trying to fix her.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
like, maybe it'll just click.
That's kind of what this sounds like, yeah.
No, it
This was
honestly,
convenient.
It wasn't. It was more of this is the hand that did the crime.
Yeah.
This is the hand that's going to learn.
I can either do this or I can chop it off.
Yeah,
Some Old
yeah,
Testament, dude.
exactly. But yeah,
Zach
I
went
mean,
modern Old Testament on
and
him.
and to be perfectly honest with you, she didn't really have a hard time with it. It was just she didn't want to do it
Right.
so badly that it has improved quite a bit. She's bossy sometimes now, which is totally separate. But
Which child?
my oldest.
You should dive in though to like why she's hitting. Probably the school, man.
Oh,
I'm never gonna stop.
Well, see,
harping
here's the
on you
thing
about that.
Well, here's the thing. Any punishment that we give them that is, I mean, obviously, any punishment they're not going to like, right?
Right.
But
Well, that's the point of a punishment.
But
Indeed.
the other very important part of very important part of parenting is making sure they understand why.
Yes. So punishment should
Yeah.
not be enjoyable, but if there is a way to get a lesson out of it, that should absolutely be
absolutely.
exercised.
Yeah, it shouldn't just be like they're just being mean, because you shouldn't. The child shouldn't come out of the punishment in any way, in any shape, of being like, they were just mean to me, and then they're going to just keep doing the thing because
Right.
they don't understand why they were being punished.
Right.
It needs to be very clear.
last thing-
and I feel like, the writing exactly what you did a million times, basically, you know.
Well,
in your child's mind. Yeah.
and you don't really want, I mean, some parents will disagree with me on this, but you don't really want blind obedience out of your children just for you. In some circumstances, like, hey,
I'll argue that. No, I'm just kidding.
well,
A little bit.
Here's the
But
thing.
it should
In
be-
some cases, like, you know, I'm gonna, I get out of the road. You know, there's a car coming.
Yeah, no, if I get a
Stuff
why
like
out of my
that.
child from
Right.
it's like,
Right.
now we have a problem.
Yeah. But at the
Well, yeah,
same
they're
time,
probably-
But if
That
I,
at
if
that
I tell you
point.
to do something and you maybe ask, well, why do we do that? It's
right,
like,
exactly.
Okay, now this is a teaching point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I don't want to take that away from them, because that's half the way a kid learns. One, a kid really learns by watching their parents. Sure. One. But number two is you always have to breed something in them that questions why something is happening. And it doesn't have to be disrespectful. That's what you have to teach your kids.
And you
is
would
when
absolutely prefer it not to have to be a punishment, but more of like a
Ab-
maybe your
sure.
kid, maybe your kid's watching you do something, like, why are you doing that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you like?
Yep.
Watching you tie a hook onto a fishing line.
Right.
How are you doing that? Why
Right.
are you doing it like
Yep.
that? It's like
Yeah, and
cool,
I-
you know. It's
I'd
like, but
prefer
not a
that,
fun-
sure.
It's like, you know, it's like
Yeah.
you're always looking for ways to teach,
Yep.
reasons to teach.
Yep. Yeah. And I'd recommend to any parent out there, any new parent, is, you're going to lose your cool. There's going to be a punishment that you
No.
think of right away. Yeah, you're going to lose your cool. But at the end of the day, as long as they understand why they're being punished or why they were punished, that's the most important thing.
Right.
That was
The
always my biggest
punishment.
thing.
Yeah.
I never get angry, so like I would
Yeah. Right.
Right.
All right, let's get back onto a lighter topic. So Vladimir Putin.
Does be done yet?
Yeah, so we had an
That was
American.
a pretty solid. That was solid. That brought me right back to Black Ops, dude.
But yeah, we had an American journalist do journalism and go interview, because
Well, he's not an American anymore because he did this. He's a traitor. so.
apparently he's a traitor.
yeah.
But the whole thing is, it's weird because we had Xi Jinping just visit California, who's an adversary.
I know Xi Jinping helped us clein up the streets.
Yes.
What are you talking about?
for a couple days.
He should come
He
back
went
a lot
right
more
back.
often.
Yes.
He should go to Texas next.
Yeah.
The border,
Go by the border.
the border tour.
Texas, New York.
But
Texas,
and no one raises. But it's like, why are people so mad about the Vladimir Putin thing? And unless we are actually at war with Russia, and they're finally fully admitting that the Ukrainians are just a proxy
Well, this
for our war.
this is
against
absolutely
Russia.
a proxy war.
No, it is.
Ukraine was,
But they're
at-
so pretending it's not.
and I'm going to use some quotes that Putin said. They're not obviously not. I'm not going to speak Russian, so they're not going to be direct quotes. He said, quite frankly, they're like, do you think there's a way that this war can be resolved peacefully? Like, we can just bring this to a close? He's like, we had a ceasefire agreement written in Istanbul. The Ukrainian delegate, like secretary, whoever it was that was there to resolve with us, had signed it, and Boris Johnson, UK's prime minister, told them not to do it. Nope, step back.
I
Don't let
remember
him
that
do it.
story. It was like an emergency. He rushed to Turkey. Boris Johnson rushes there, and then it was actually brought up in our news. Even, that this was going to become a thing.
This
and then
was going
Boris
to be
Johnson
a ceasefire.
went
He's
there,
like,
and
the
then
war would have ended right there. But he's like, now the war still goes on, and he's like, and where's Boris Johnson?
Yep. Meanwhile,
Did
the
you have evidence
Ukrainians.
that NATO or the CIA? Who blew up Nord Stream?
Oh, this is another.
That's a great
this is another
setup
excellent
question.
one.
But meanwhile, the Ukrainians are rounding up people and just throwing them into vans to rush them to the front lines because they're running out of people.
Oh, I just remember them talking about Russia. The Russia's just throwing conscripts at this
Yeah.
war. It's like,
It's-
are we going to
everything's
pretend
projection.
that everyone's not? Yeah, it's very much projection. It's like you are throwing untrained men.
Yeah.
That it's like they might be well outfitted, well armed with American and European
German
weapons. I'm talking about
They're the first
Ukrainians.
new German battle tank.
Yeah, it's like the Ukrainians are absolutely well outfitted
It doesn't matter, though.
It doesn't matter what you put in their hands if they're not trained.
Yep.
You're going to
Yeah.
get clapped by experienced soldiers.
Yeah.
Well,
Good thing the Russians aren't experienced.
It depends on who you're fighting and where.
I don't
Russia's
think that's-
absolutely got experienced, hardened fighting forces.
from what
it
I've-
seems, I mean, if you're seeing about Russian losses, those are Russian conscripts.
yeah, because from what I've heard, there was when Trump was in power, we did the whole Norway thing, and there were the Russians. It was like an agreement. We deployed there. Some Marines went there, and it was like a show of force thing. Some Russian. It was probably maybe not SF, but probably a high rank, a Rangers type regiment or something. Did some deployment maneuvers, and all the guy that witnessed these things told me is like, we are not prepared for a war with Russia. Like they're crazy. Like they're on some crazy stuff.
He's like, they do shooting drills that are just. He's like, the American military doesn't do them for safety purposes.
Right.
He's like, we're worried about shooting each other, and Russia's just doing it. Like, what if somebody gets shot? They're just like,
it's kind of like what you see. Like,
well, that's the point of doing dangerous maneuvers,
you
isn't
say,
it?
you say that we're not ready to fight Russia. I think we completely are, because you had their tier 1 operators, the Wagner group, get absolutely massacred.
Whoa,
Tier one operators?
Wagner's not
This is
tier
a
1
mercenary
operators.
group.
Tier 1, well,
That's what they
I'm not saying
consider-
they're inexperienced.
No,
but
they're not. Yeah,
that's
but
their
it's
equivalent
mercenaries.
of
It's-
like Blackwater.
right.
Yeah, but they still want to consider them like.
It's probably
Tier one
XSF
shit
guys, but
stuff.
it's
I mean,
a
those
bunch of
guys
not.
are absolutely probably better outfitted than the majority of Russian
Sure,
forces, and
but then they-
probably better trained too.
Then they went up against our tier 1 operators and they got massacred.
Well, with air.
There was another
But
one.
that's a big aspect. Like
Yeah.
in Syria, when we wiped out 250 Wagner operators trying to move on an American outpost, which unfortunately for those Russian mercenaries, they didn't realize was an American outpost.
Yeah.
Until an AC-130 and gunships started raining like close air support on them. I guess that would be
What's that noise?
I guess I guess that would be a really bad day to find that out. And I'm not going to take away from. I'm not going to say they're better than us because they're not. But it's just.
What's an A10 really sound like?
Yeah, right.
Ask those. Oh,
You don't know. Unfortunately, if it's meant for you, you never find out. Yeah.
you know, but the world will never know.
Yeah. The guy with the GoPro knows.
Yeah. Right. Oh man.
No. It's absolutely just
I
very
was busy that day.
Oh.
Oh.
Can you replay that, Joey?
Yeah. What was the question? At the beginning?
I did not blow up. Who blew up Nord Stream?
You for sure.
I was busy that day. Nate, do you have? I did not blow up Nord Stream. Thank you, though.
У вас лично, может быть, есть алиби, у вас лично.
You personally may have an alibi, but the CIA has no such alibi.
Do you have evidence that NATO or the CIA did it?
Вы знаете,
You know, I won't get into details, but people always say in such cases, look for someone who is interested. But in this case, we should not only look for someone who is interested, but also for someone who has capabilities. Because there may be many people interested, but not all of them are capable of sinking to the bottom of the Baltic Sea and carrying out this explosion. These two components should be connected. Who is interested and who is capable of doing it.
But I'm confused. I mean, that's the biggest act of industrial terrorism ever. And it's the largest emission of CO2 in history. Okay, so if you had evidence, and presumably given your security services, your intel services, you would, that NATO, the US, CIA, the West, did this, why wouldn't you present it and win a propaganda victory?
In the war of propaganda, it is very difficult to defeat the United States because the United States controls all the world's media and many European media.
Yep.
The ultimate beneficiary of the biggest European media are American financial institutions. Don't you know that? So it is possible to get involved in this work, but it is cost prohibitive, so to speak. We can simply shine the spotlight on our sources of information, and we will not achieve results. It is clear to the whole world what happened, and even American analysts talk about it directly. It's true.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
I'd say
here's a
that I would
question you may
agree
be able to
that
answer.
we did
You worked
it.
in Germany, famously. The Germans clearly know that their NATO partner did this, but it damaged their economy greatly. It may never recover. Why are they being silent about it? That's very confusing to me. Why wouldn't the Germans say something about it?
Because they're in on the take.
Меня это тоже удивляет.
This also confuses me. But today's German leadership is guided by the interests of the collective West rather than its national interests. Otherwise, it is difficult to explain the logic of their action or inaction.
They don't want to get
After all,
destroyed for a third
it is
time.
not only about Nord Stream
Like,
1,
we're done.
which was blown
Americans
up,
looking
and
for a
the
hat
Nord Stream
trick.
2 was damaged. But one pipe is safe and sound, and gas can be supplied to Europe through it. But Germany does not open it. We are ready, please. There's another route through Poland called Yamal Europe, which also allows for large flow. Poland has closed it, but Poland packs from the German hand. It receives money from the pan-European funds, and Germany is the main donor to these pan-European funds. Germany feeds Poland to a certain extent, and they close their route to Germany. Why? I don't understand. Ukraine, to which the Germans supply weapons and give money. Germany is the second sponsor of the United States in terms of financial aid to Ukraine. There are two gas routes through Ukraine. They simply closed one route, the Ukrainians. Open the second route and please get gas from Russia. They do not open it. Why don't the Germans say, look guys, we give you money and weapons, open up the valve, please, let the gas from Russia pass through for us. We're buying liquefied gas at exorbitant prices in Europe, which brings the level of our competitiveness and economy in general down to zero. Do you want us to give you money? Let us have the decent existence. Make money for our economy, because this is where the money we give you comes from. They refuse to do so. Why? Ask them. That is what is like in their heads. Those are highly incompetent people.
I don't like Putin. I know he is a bad guy.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no,
But
100%.
there are moments like this
Yeah.
where it's like it's hard to argue with the common sense that is his logic
Right.
in this instance.
Sure.
Well, and look at the beginning of all this. The Ukrainian conflict was lighting up with Obama's last term. The he was expelling ambassadors. It was lighting up between us and Russia. Trump came in and diffused. All of a sudden, it just stopped.
Right.
And then they said he was a Russian agent and all that.
Of course.
lies.
Yeah.
But-
Right.
But
even in this, I know you haven't watched the whole thing. You told me. He makes remarks about Trump. He's like, look, he wasn't necessarily one of my favorite presidents to ever work with. He was definitely a personality, but he would work with me.
right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's just Trump's thing. He was actually probably the best president we've had for our lifetime. That we were able
in my
to witness.
lifetime, I have a very short lifetime, but in terms
with
of
presidents that we've
he
had-
even comments on Bush. He's like, Bush is. He's like, I know in the West a lot he gets talked about like a stupid cowboy. But they're like, he was not.
No.
He might have let on like that,
I
but he's
think
like
he
he was
did.
very well aware of what was going on in the world and what he was doing when he was doing it.
I mean, I definitely like Clinton.
Which one?
Are you just saying that to save your own neck here, bud?
Old,
This is my insurance card.
old blown bill.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing that I don't understand people get all upset about. They get upset that Tucker Carlson is going to talk to Vladimir Putin, right? In my mind, what better way to journalize and get the scoop on stuff going on? Go talk to the guy.
Oh, you mean like how people talk about
Tucker
him, like
Carlson
this?
showed up in Moscow this week to interview Vladimir Putin.
Yeah.
It turned out to be anything but an interview. Putin droned on for 2 hours and 7 minutes, while Tucker sat there like an eager puppy. Occasionally, but rarely, he
And where
got
were
in
you?
a question.
Yeah.
Like this one about the power of the
Hiding in
deep
his neck
state
rolls?
in Washington.
It sounds like you're describing a system that's not run by the people who are elected, in your telling.
Именно так.
That's right. That's right.
But more telling
and then they
than
cut it.
perhaps,
Joey,
Yeah.
I wish you could go back and find that
Nothing about
exact
why
clip
Putin
and
is
actually
taking the
show
sovereign
the
country.
remainder of like his
Nothing about
response because they cut
targeting
it off
civilians.
immediately.
Yeah.
Nothing about Russian war crimes. A reporter can ask Putin a tough question if he wants a real interview. Why is it that so many of the people that oppose Vladimir Putin
He cuts to an old interview of
end up
himself.
or close to it? But
Oh yeah, They are very good with their cuts.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god, they're not good with their cuts. Those are the most blatant
He
cuts.
says Tucker Carlson gives softball interview to Putin.
Yeah.
I hate this guy.
Well, that's what
Chris
I mean.
Wallace is such a POS. To quote Zach.
He's a cock. He belongs in the chair that I'm in right
Yeah,
now.
dude. Cuck chair this guy.
This is what I don't understand is
Do you like his wife's boyfriend?
here's that's the thing that
He
I don't
does.
understand though is people will get all upset about how I think it's just because it's Tucker Carlson, let's be honest here.
Of course.
It's just because it's Tucker Carlson.
They are absurdly upset that he is not just out of the public light entirely.
Well, and the other thing too is it doesn't make any sense to me that people want these stories, people want to understand what's going on in the world, and then when somebody actually takes the effort, goes and talks to the talks to these people firsthand,
like the premier source to
It's
find
like-
out the Russian side
It's like
of this.
people are saying that they'd rather just be fed the information by the people that they think they can trust.
The legacy media.
Yeah.
I want to get my information from Chris Wallace.
Exactly.
That's how we get all these words
those,
like
those
sheep.
weren't very ridiculous cuts that he made. Like, oh, let me just cut off every response
Yeah.
ever from the guy that I'm interviewing. It's like, sounds like you just wanted to hear yourself talk and act
Yeah.
like it was a gotcha moment.
Well,
you
and
never
then-
actually listened to his response.
That's what he thought.
And then,
he thought
you know-
he got him so hard in that.
Yeah.
Chris Wallace is so happy about this clip.
Oh,
yeah.
100%. Well, and the other thing too is he talks about softball questions, but in reality, he's the one clip he asked him about the deep state.
Right.
About what
Yeah.
he what Vladimir Putin himself.
they don't
There
want
was
you
a
to
large
watch it.
conversation that led into that, where
Right.
he's like,
And I'm sure there
I'm trying to
was.
work with your president, but he's
Right.
like, there's these other outside sources within your government. He's like, these
Yeah.
other agencies that absolutely interdict and like affect my conversations with him and
Yeah.
the actions that follow.
Right.
And he's
That-
like, it sounds like you're talking about, he's like,
Yeah.
he's
Well,
not even
that's-
talking about the deep state. He's just like, what he's really saying is the CIA interferes with your president's actions.
Yeah. Well, and you've got a major foreign entity in Vladimir Putin and Russia. You've got a major foreign entity that is saying this. They recognize this.
Oh, yes.
That is a problem. That's a problem. Because
And he's also an entity from a foreign government that used to be an agency in his country's version of our Central Intelligence Agency. He's
Yeah.
a KGB agent. He
Yeah.
recognizes when he's like, this was not your president's doing. This is your
Right.
central.
Right.
He's like, he calls it the central
Well-
services or the special services, but it's like, there's only one special service in the United States, and it's the Central Intelligence Agency.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just makes no sense to me that people are criticizing this entire interview when in reality, when we're in a climate in the way in what we are, especially with because we've heard enough from Zelensky.
Oh yeah.
He's
been on the he's been on the Grammys.
We've heard enough from him. But
Oh, man.
but a firsthand interview with the other guy in this war, and we're just treating it because it's right now, and because it's Tucker Carlson, we're just treating it like it's that was just a way to push his agenda, Tucker Carlson's agenda.
Have you seen?
Come on.
Have you seen Zelensky's olive drab? He's obviously been to combat.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. That
Every
guy's
time he's in
that
the-
guy's a gunfighter for sure.
Yeah. Just
He wears he's got the uniform,
yeah. It's just insane to me that
It's just like our Congress members that show
People-
up in like their IDF uniforms and stuff like that. Like, what are you doing, man?
yeah.
Are you really enacting policy in interest of the United States, or are you just super interested in getting us involved in a war with Israel?
Yeah, exactly. And that's that's the other thing too is when we're involved in conflicts like this, especially something that's not directly correlated to us like Ukraine and Russia, we should be asking ourselves, okay, well, why are they fighting? And is it worth us to support either side? And this is one way to do such things.
Well, I'll tell you if it's worth it for us to support either side. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to the border bill that just tried to get passed. And then, of course, Republicans are catching a lot of flack because it didn't get passed.
It's
Yeah.
the play, man.
Yeah, right. Oh, yeah. Republicans talk about
It's
wanting
Trump's
to secure
fault.
the border, and then look at this. They turned down our border bill.
Yeah.
$117 billion bill for the border security.
That bill legalized
$665 million is what was actually allocated to building the border wall.
and it just legalized what he's doing right now.
Yes, and the rest of that bill was in reference to sending more money to Ukraine, sending more money to Israel and Taiwan.
Yep.
The border portion didn't get passed,
but we got to call it the border wall bill so that everybody knows that's what it's for.
Just to let you know, they did pick out the border of the bill and did get that money to Taiwan, Ukraine, and Israel, though. They did pass that portion.
Oh, of course they did.
Yeah.
So
thank God the border wall bill passed with zero money to the border wall.
And the Republicans didn't help at all.
Nope.
Yep.
Actually, some of them defected for it. But, man, that whole thing's crazy.
It's wild to me.
And people just, it's like, you would think at this point, with everything wild that's been going on, more people would pay attention. I feel like they do. I feel like the highest influencers are just paid activists.
I think people are just putting their head, well, high-paid people, absolutely.
Sure.
Normal citizens, I feel like they're just putting their head in the sand.
Well,
they're like,
I'm
I'm just going to keep going to Chris Wallace, and whatever he tells me is
ignorance
whatever
is bliss.
Yeah. Yep.
But I mean, no, the mainstream news is dying. Cable news is dying.
Oh yeah, legacy media is going to be no more.
Or I believe in Dan Crenshaw because he was former military. You know, hey, he definitely has our best interest in hand.
Adam Kinzinger was also former military. Adam Kinzinger from Illinois.
Yep. Some of our friends over at Oscar Mike were pretty big fans of him for a while.
Yeah.
Up until he showed his true colors, and then it was like,
hey,
well,
I voted for him once, and it's the biggest regret.
I don't blame you. A lot of people did because exactly the same reason I'm sure that Dan Crenshaw got in is this guy.
Oh,
you know, he says all the right words. He says all the right things. He's going to work for you, not for the government, and then.
You know, funny
those
story.
colors switch really quick once they actually get in there.
That was about when he turned. That was about when I got involved in the politics and started kind of going to the local Republican meetings and all that stuff, kind of seeing what I could do to get involved. And he was
kicked out of there real quick.
Well, there was a group that showed up that was they wanted to censor him and do all those things. Like the county party wanted to, this group of the county party wanted to censor him and do all those things. And then the other guys were just business as you know, they're like, no, we can't, you know. A lot of the Republican side of things is like that whole tolerant Christian kind of vibe of like the ones that let all the bad happen, you know. They tolerated way too much.
I don't agree with it, but we'll allow it.
Pretty much, man. And it's like that's who's running these things, and as long as they get their fancy fundraiser dinners and their galas, and
they don't care.
They don't care.
It doesn't matter, man. My salary is being paid,
and that's why I got out of it. And it's just like, you know what? That's why the Republican Party looks the way it does, and why it's so weak.
I'm interested in something that you said there. You said that they were the type that said that they don't agree with it, but they'll tolerate it. What do you mean by that?
So instead of like holding to the convictions of what the people want, because of Adam Kinzinger's betrayal and saying like the January 6th thing was an insurrection, and he went on board with that whole commission of lies where they cut out videos and deleted evidence, and you know they showed the media.
He was trespassing in a federal building, so I think 11 years in federal prison is a reasonable sentence.
And he was up there doing the whole show, crying and stuff, and saying how horrible all this was.
How he probably had PTSD from that day.
And they showed just nothing but the selective media. You know, he was part of all that group, and he kind of came. Like Trump pretty much helped get him reelected. Like you know, all the Republicans that got reelected during the 2020, because Trump didn't, but a lot of Republicans did. That was the weird thing. That's why they say, or not, 2020. Sorry, the whole ballot fraud thing, because they're like, oh well, how does this work that, you know, just the president goes this way, but the whole country goes red, you know, in the same time, and it was none of them were down ballot votes. They were all just votes for Biden versus Trump, and nothing else was filled out. But he just went on that whole betrayal aspect of the voters, you know, like he came out all Republican, gung-ho, we got to do this, stand behind Trump. And then, like, the whole betrayal, and he was in on the act, like, kind of like Liz Cheney. You know, like, he played right into the establishment, which the establishment is Democrats and Republicans. It's the uniparty. So he played right into, like, okay, he's one of them. You know, like, it was the official show of hands. Like, there's some people you suspect. Like, Dan Crenshaw, people kind of suspected for a while. But then it's like, then he showed his true colors when he came out against guns. And what else did he... Oh, man, he came out hard.
He's not against guns. He's just against you having guns.
Well, right. He came out as that. I feel like they've infiltrated the Republican Party with like the leftists, because it's
Sure.
the left and right paradigm. I don't think actually plays into the party politics, because they even say there were Republicans that ran left of their Democratic candidates back in the past. You know.
Yeah.
And I feel like if we get on this path of civil war, actually, I was doing this little research. You know, it's with Kinzinger being a House guy,
A representative,
just
not a.
I just
Yeah.
want to say other words about the guy because I just hate him so much. Like, I used to have Twitter accounts where I would just troll him.
You said
just be a
Adam?
reply guy to him. What's that?
You said talk about Adam.
Kinzinger.
Kinzinger.
Yeah. Well, yeah. In his bio, he talks about glory to Ukraine.
Yeah, he's
my
super
God.
Ukraine. Like,
What is
Yeah,
it with these
Ukraine, and then he-
Republicans and becoming war hawks?
Well, then he also
You know,
has-
I guess they have been.
yeah.
He has a Israeli flag in it as well.
Democrats have too.
Historically, Democrats were not, and now they are.
Were they? World War
Well-
II was a Democratic president. Korea, we had
Yeah,
a Democrat president.
But like
Vietnam, we had a Democrat president.
Okay, I guess
You know
historically,
what I mean,
I used
starting the
historically
war,
wrong.
and I'm not saying the Republicans are better because
Right.
Republicans get in office while this war is going on and just fuel the fire. And it's like, you know,
Yeah.
you get guys like Nixon that get in there like, we're going to pull out. Actually,
Right.
we're going to triple up on our troop presence.
Right, and I used historically wrong. Like I guess when I said that, I meant for my like life of
Sure.
You know, because
we're
in the
used to
90s,
GWAT.
Yeah, exactly. The Democrats of our growing up were the anti-war
Well,
party.
Bill Clinton got us into,
Well,
what is it?
Bosnia.
Bosnia and Herzegovina.
They were just
whatever
bombing
that countries.
all sorts of
Sure.
people. Well, that was the regime change thing, the New World Order, because like all the even Iraq and Afghanistan and Iran, all those countries were listed. Like George Bush and all those people were CIA head, or George Bush Sr. was the CIA head. That all these things were a plan, and they were just like Junior was doing it. You know, that's we found our excuse to get in. Whatever you want to say about 9/11, it was the spell. Getting into the Middle East was writing on the wall. Like it was going to happen regardless of how it happened.
Before you continue, Adam put out an emergency post about 3 days ago. It says, "Here's the only way to guarantee #Ukraine aid to put on the floor of the House for a vote. Only need 3 or 4 people to do this. Historic moment requiring historic courage."
I hate this guy so
I didn't
much,
know it was courageous.
Look at him.
Of Americans. Do you want to hear it then?
No, I don't.
Look, I have one way to.
That's enough. I don't care.
What's your name? It doesn't matter what your name is.
Yeah, the only reason I asked that is because you said, you know, we don't agree with it, but we'll allow it, is because that's kind of a lot of our viewpoints on a lot of this stuff today.
Well, live and let live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
no,
you're
I don't
saying-
think
you're saying that,
I'm not saying it as that.
Yeah,
in
I
that
get
regards. You know what I mean?
Now that you've expanded on it, it makes a little more sense.
It's more the grifting sense of like, yeah, we're going to go out and we're going to make sure these woke progressives aren't messing with your lives. But then they're sitting in the same, you know, in the same table across drinking wine with the woke progressives.
Exactly.
You
So
know,
it's just more of
shaking hands.
hypocrisy.
Yeah, exactly.
More than just liberty and freedom.
Yep.
It's
we talk
more
about it. We
hypocrisy.
talk about like the Christians that, yeah, they go to church and they, you know, they act like, oh, well, since I went to church, you know, I'm a better Christian than such and you know, I give more money than so and so down the hall over there or down the pew.
Yep.
You know, so I'm better than them. It's those people. It's they apply it to all aspects. It's not just Christians. You know, it's
100%.
definitely a personality trait.
Yeah. It's a very popular personality trait nowadays.
Yeah, it's
you know,
the sheep.
everyone's well, yeah, 100%. Everyone's, you know, oh, I have more authority to talk about this than you do, or you
Well,
can't.
go back to
how
Biden
dare
on his,
you?
Go back to
Yeah.
Biden on his
Yeah.
speech there. I let you
Exactly.
speak.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
like, no, you don't let me speak. I have the right to speak. Actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he goes into how his memory's fine because he carries the bracelet about from Our Lady of.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all hypocrisy, and it's always that, and it's super frustrating. But it's like I feel like at this point, and the reason why we've become clown world and why everything's so funny is because they're just doing it on purpose, and enough people have caught on.
Well, I
that
think
the art now is created to mimic all the craziness that they do,
But
and
nothing
it's
is done.
hilarious.
Nothing is done to contradict it or like to fight against it. It's like at this point, it's like I've just accepted that this is how retarded everything has gotten.
There's a Twitter account, the Libs of TikTok.
I love
think
that. I
they're
love
on
it.
or X, but they're on other things too, aren't they? Are they not?
They're on TikTok.
They're on TikTok.
Oh, yeah.
Are they on Facebook?
Yeah, they're all over.
They're all over.
Yeah.
So libs of TikTok, the only thing they do is repost the left's progressive media, like the social media things. They just
no,
repost
everybody
what they
acts like it's some ridiculous. They're like, what is these caricatures? Like, no, that is your people actually saying.
Reposting it and commenting on it. That's what they started off doing. And it's like, it's so crazy that they're attacked for what they're doing. And it's like, just, we live in such a backwards. Oh, I saw that right there, Joe. Yeah.
Proclivity. Whites are psychopaths, and their behavior represents an underlying biologically transmittable proclivity with roots deep in their evolutionary history. How many of you could see the proclivity that evolved deep within the evolutionary history of whiteness by show of hands? How many of you could see it? Some people are sitting here, oh no, I don't want to raise my hand. That's called denial. There's no discussion about the delusion and the perversion of whiteness. Say this with me. Rape culture in America is a legal, economic, and moral institution. So we have it written in the law, you can rape black women. But we've never been a racist country.
I was unaware of such a law.
This goes beyond gaslighting, and it's rooted in psychological delusion.
Well, it's only, and I'm not seeking agreement from white people. Of rape, depending on what year it is.
Oh, God. I don't prioritize whiteness or white people in my work in that way. So turn to your neighbor and say, as much as we want to talk about how bad anti-blackness is, it is the foundation.
This guy gets paid a lot of money to do this.
All American,
I guarantee it.
All white American institutions. We then get to Ron DeSantis. He says, in Florida, we're taking a stand against the state-sanctioned racism that is critical race theory. We won't allow Florida tax dollars to be spent teaching kids to hate our country or hate each other, only to hate black people. We will invest dollars in that.
I'm sure that was a quote.
I think there are
the
many
fact
lies,
that this guy mentions gaslighting,
you can
at all.
Yeah,
while he's up there, absolutely.
He's up there with a torch and a flamethrower, just.
Dude, see, this is Kyle. We just had this conversation, I think, on one of the last episodes where I get down a rabbit hole sometimes and I see this stuff.
If you have a problem,
and I get so angry, this is one of those things. It makes me so mad. The fact that people are actually sitting there and saying, because you can hear them saying it in the background along with him.
Oh, yeah, people are chanting it in the background.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they're repeating after him.
It's like, are you kidding me? Do you not see
I would be in that room just...
Yeah, well, here's the problem with it.
Blank stare, like, what are we doing here?
Here's the problem with this is propaganda will tell all black people that, oh, the white man finally gets a taste of his own medicine. Zach's sitting here all upset about the white people being discriminated against. It's anybody being discriminated against is the problem.
We have come far enough as a country to understand that is wrong.
Yes.
But now we're reverting back to here's classes that only black students can take on this campus.
And that's the thing, the critical race theory.
Not even that. No, they've started doing
there's black.
It's
only
elective
BIPOC
courses where you can take black only courses, where it's the same course everyone's getting, but with only black students.
I'll do you one further.
They're making segregation cool again.
Well, yeah. I'll do you one. That's exactly what they're doing, because there is blocks of dorm rooms that are only allowed for minorities.
I could
they're
see
separated
women.
into.
I could see it being separated by gender.
Well, sorority
you're a male
and fraternity.
Well, not even that. I just mean this is a female-only dorm.
Sure.
Okay, understandable.
Those
by race
minority
alone.
only ones, I can smell those dorms.
Oh my god!
But I mean,
this must be the Indian one. It's smelling awful curdy in here. I didn't say that. That was Zach.
No,
Colton said it smelled like Cheetos.
Hot Cheetos.
Hot Cheetos and
Hot Cheetos and Cookie Monster pajama pants.
Stop.
Well, it's
not a stereotype. It's always true.
To mute you guys' points, to go on to the next one then. Where your next story is that airlines have now weighing fat people.
Good.
Yep. So
end of that one. No.
With someone's fat body, because that's what it is. It's fat.
Oh, I saw this.
Overspilling it into your seat. That's not the person's problem. Okay.
What?
It is.
It's the airline's problem.
No, it's
because
your
that's
problem.
who you're
It's
paying
the
your money
airline you wanna
for.
use, so fuck
It
you.
means they're not an inclusive company. They're not including people of different sizes. So if it's affecting you,
I hate these people.
think how much it's affecting that person.
You can pause it now.
It's no longer people of
No,
color. It's
okay.
people of weight.
So take this. So
People of
take
heft.
this. Take this from a bigger guy. I'm the biggest guy in this room. By
Indeed.
no means.
Agreed.
yeah, you're okay.
Kyle? No, but seriously, by no means do I expect anyone else to pay or suffer because of my life choices up to this point or my weight. That shouldn't be the way it is. But that's what pisses me off so bad is there's people out there that believe that they are entitled to something because of their own life choices.
Yeah.
That's not the way it is. If you don't like the way a business is
never
run,
been that way.
don't go there.
Right.
Don't go to that airline if they charge you extra. If there's another airline stupid enough to allow you to be 600 pounds and only pay for one seat,
Spirit, for sure.
then
right.
go to them.
Planes
Then-
just flying
Yeah,
in spirals
exactly.
the whole time.
Go to them.
Duct
But
tape
don't,
falling off the wings on takeoff.
and there's a difference. There's a difference between this because this is not something that you are born with, contrary to popular belief of some.
No, I'm big boned, Zach. What are you talking about?
No, this is not something that you are born with.
No, we're not going there. You
I have
bottled that.
wingspanned ribs. I just have like really big ribs.
To be spilling over into another person's seat, that is based off of life choices. That is not something that you are born with.
Sure.
I just feel like, why would you put yourself through that?
Well, yeah, and
if
and
you
could
know you're going to be spilling off,
I would
into another
like.
seat.
I would like coach middle seat, please.
See, and this is the thing.
I'm gonna start cutting
There's
the
no-
fat off of people when they're spilling over into my seat.
Well,
Just grab a
and-
knife and just
Nope, that's my
Start
armrest. That
chiseling
is
away.
my
Yeah.
armrest, motherfucker.
Well, and here's the thing too.
There's our one.
make a nice.
Oh, shut up. I did it.
I'm gonna make a nice Chianti with it.
Yeah. Well, here's the other thing though too. Is that there's a lack of pride in this country. People don't care. They just expect everybody else to conform to what they
pick up my slack.
Yes,
Right.
absolutely. It used to be that, our grandparents used to talk about how they used to go to their neighbors for a cup of flour or something, Sure, that was something helpful to do. But if you went and asked your neighbor for $50 to help you pay for rent, no one would do it because they were prideful. They had too much pride to do that.
Oh, right. You mean
Nowadays,
asking the question.
It
you're
comes down to
entitled.
you do not want to be a burden on
Right.
the people around
Right.
you. If anything, you are
Some
looking
people.
to well.
well, nowadays, that's my point.
Like,
What do you
it
mean-
used to
what do
be.
you mean
it
by
used to,
some
you would look
people?
down on yourself. Like
Us.
I'm not
Yeah.
going to go over and burden my neighbor
Right.
with something
Right.
that it's like asking for a cup of sugar is different than asking for money.
Right.
It's like, look, if I'm struggling, they're probably struggling. I'm not going to burden them
Right.
Yep.
because I was fiscally irresponsible.
Nowadays, if you're stuck in a spot,
Now you're put
it's-
in the bad spot if you turn them down.
Exactly.
Like, no, I don't have the money. Yes, you do.
Yeah.
You're doing
Yeah.
just fine.
It's everybody-
How is this
You're
being put,
racist.
how is this
Yep.
being put back on me?
It's
Yeah.
everybody else's fault but your own.
Yep.
That's
Yeah.
Well,
the point that I'm trying to make.
Becoming a burden is becoming like trendy.
Yes,
It is,
But they don't.
absolute-
But they don't look at themselves as being burdensome. They look at it as like, oh, you're not going to help me because I'm a disadvantaged person
Yeah.
of color,
Right.
or,
You must-
whatever, person of heft.
That's the thing is you must account for me.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. You must account for my problems. You must account for this or that.
Well, this is my truth, Zach.
My truth can. Yeah, well.
Well, I mean,
That is the dumbest statement I think I've ever heard, but it's very much
It
a
is.
real one. Like my truth. No, there is the truth.
Yeah.
And there is your objective view of what's going on around
Sub-
you. That doesn't
subjective,
make it. That doesn't
yeah.
equal truth.
The next saying that I
Yes.
love.
Right.
The next saying that I love that for you. What's that supposed to mean?
I just
Yeah.
falsely accused this man of raping me and won in court case. I love that for you, Queen.
Yeah.
It's like, you just see that shit on like
It's so
TikTok or whatever.
silly.
It's just like, okay.
I
used a very ridiculous one, but yeah, I love that for you. I used it sarcastically.
Yeah, this
Well,
kind of
I
stuff.
just ran over some junk on the highway and blew out 3 tires on my car. I love that for you.
Yeah, it's just insane.
Have
And
the day you deserve.
this is I've been somewhat quiet on this episode right up until I start seeing this stuff, and it just gets me so
What, fat people?
boiling. No, anything, dude. It doesn't matter. Look,
Anything.
I'm not
Trigger me.
trigger. No, I'm talking
no,
about.
play that one right there. It'll probably trigger him some more. I don't even know what it's
probably.
about.
Well, at least our schools.
This is a long but worth the watch. This is
Oh,
from
never
Lives
mind,
of
I don't watch
TikTok.
it. Yeah.
A teacher explaining how schools groom kids into being confused about their identity by affirming their gender transitions, all while hiding it from the parents. The teachers thinks she's keeping the kids safe. The video. Oh, okay.
And they say Republicans are projecting when they say there's a problem with groomers in this country.
Well,
it sounds like projection.
The video. I'm not going to play the video; it's too long. But it says the synopsis is a kid going through a difficult time, like most kids do. The kid decides either on their own or most likely with the help from TikTok or her teacher that the issues is her gender. The parents rightfully explain to her that she's going through a phase and she's not the opposite gender. Instead of realizing the parents know their kid best and kids go through hard times and phases, the school and teachers collude to affirm her non-binary identity and keep it secret from the parents. This obviously causes further distress and anxiety for the kid. The kid doesn't come out of the phase, rather goes further into it because she was affirmed by trusted adults at school. The teachers create a bigger and bigger separation between the kid and her parent. The parents are keeping out of everything and have no clue what's going on with their child. The kid is told that teachers are keeping her safe from her harmful parents. Once they make you believe that parents are harming their kids, they are using the justification to take them away. It's happening before it could ever happen. Grooming 101, keep your kids away from these teachers. Actually, that's not a problem.
No, that's a problem. It's essentially...
No. What we're saying, these people they're saying that the parents are not allowing this gender identity crisis, and then the teachers are reaffirming it, and then they go on to say that this is grooming 101, and that these kids should stay away from these teachers.
Right.
Yes. The teachers. Or the students should stay away from these teachers.
Yeah. Right. So what's going on.
I agree with the statement, not with what's going on.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's just like I heard. Can I explain one that happened in New York that I just heard about today?
Go for it.
So a father and a wife get divorced. They have a 9-year-old daughter who's going through, I guess, elementary school at that age, right?
No, she's 9.
9. Would that be middle school?
Yeah, she's for 3rd grade.
Okay, yeah. My mind is so messed up on what ages I was in. So like middle school, I'm like, what was I, like 13?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
The only reason I know is because my daughter's 9 and she's in 3rd.
Yeah, you have a new age.
Life. I saw that one too, though.
I found another good story.
They got divorced. The mother takes sole custody of the child. So mother has sole custody. The father gets visibility when allowed, essentially. The only reason he knows that his daughter is now being groomed into becoming a male is because he starts receiving mail from the school with a different name for his child. And he's like, what is going on here? Finds out about this, takes the mother to court. Like, no, we are not doing this. This is not happening. You're not turning our 9-year-old daughter into our 9-year-old son. Or no, sorry, it was vice versa. You're not turning my 9-year-old son into my 9-year-old daughter.
Okay.
He loses in court, has to pay all the court fees.
Yep.
Because he's not gender affirming. And this is state of New York, of course.
Right. Yep.
And he's also ordered to pay the mother's court fees.
Oh,
wow.
Cute.
So,
cute.
It's just wild, depending on where you live in this country, how...
Well, this even happened in Montana.
If you even raise your voice about this, how it's like, get ready for financial ruin.
There was another one in like Montana or Wyoming out there, northwest.
If it was Wyoming, I imagine it got shut down.
Well, this didn't. So essentially kind of what they're saying is the teachers can put these kids on that path, and like, you know, your parents are what's wrong. So then they're going to keep looking on this path, and there's videos and tutorials basically how to get taken away from your parents and shit. Like what to say to the state.
For children. And they want to say it's not grooming. You are grooming children how to circumvent their parents.
Right. So they did this whole, the kids started saying they were suicidal, and they basically got themselves
That's a huge concern with the internet in general. And like
100%.
Giving your kids access to that would terrify me as a parent.
Right.
And we've got...
You don't do it.
Well, we've got a guest. We've got a guest that is specifically interested in talking about the LGBTQIA plus.
Are they the alphabet police?
Yeah,
or alphabet warriors. I mean,
so I don't want to get too much into it, but that being said, it is infuriating because here's the thing: anytime that a school, it doesn't even need to be about this. It could be about anything, whether it's the critical race theory, whether anything where they are incentivizing that their parents are wrong and come to us for the answers.
Yes.
I have zero patience for it. And I regularly ask my children, you know, if there's anything that they're told not to keep from their parents, or if there's anything that they say, oh, maybe you shouldn't tell your parents about this. You know, I regularly ask them this. Did
that ever get said to you ever once going through school growing up?
Never. Never.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Right.
Never. In fact,
if my mom would have found out that something like that was going on, my mom's not a big woman, but she would have tore that school up.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll do you one better. When we went through our health classes, when I was in fifth grade,
Oh, you got the permission slips. Like, we're going to be talking about this.
it wasn't
in
even
class.
that. They actually encouraged us to talk to our parents. They encouraged us.
I think we had like a
Maybe
almost
there
like a
was.
release slip that it
Maybe
was like,
there was.
hey,
Yeah, we had to get
and
that.
it was
Did
basically
you-
just for your parents to see, like, we will be talking about
Yeah.
sex and like reproduction in class.
Yeah,
so
when it
just
talks
so
to
you're
your
aware.
parents, you're like, "Can I watch?"
Yeah, no, and I think it was mostly just like and I'm sure it went something along those lines where it told your parents, if you would like to discuss this with your child beforehand,
Yeah.
please
Yep.
do so. Just know that this is the date that we will be beginning talking about this, just so you're aware that if your child comes home and is asking questions, this is why.
Yep. Well, and the thing is too is, you know, your parents, man, I just don't get it. I just don't understand why people wouldn't want well, I get why. I get why people don't want their kids to have a relationship with their parents, because then they can push
You
all
can
of this
manipulate
crap
whatever
on
you
them.
want
Yeah.
if
But-
they don't have that last line, the first and last line of defense.
Yeah,
Honestly, you are the
absolutely.
line of defense. For
You
your
put
children.
down the foundation on your kids before 3 years of age. Up until that point, they're locking in your values, basically. So no matter what happens to them
Your
in life, they're
example.
going to have
Yep.
that. They're trying to get kids in those universal pre-Ks as young as 3 years old so that they can put their foundation. I think it's actually 5 years old of age. But they're trying to get them younger and younger so they can instill these LGBTQ
much less time being instilled with your
values
parents.
and
Yeah, right.
secular
The
values.
second you
and
become sentient as a child, you're already being
they want you in
instilled with.
school.
And the other thing too is kids are such innocent things. Granted, there's a little bit of being naive in that, but at the same time, they're such innocent creatures. They don't care what the
they're very
color of your
trusting.
skin.
Yeah.
They
Very
don't care
trusting.
what the color of your skin is. They don't care who you have sex with. They don't care any of that.
All of that is instilled
They
elsewhere.
judge right, and they judge you based off of how you conduct yourself.
Right.
And you know, we could learn, a lot of adults could learn a lot from kids in that manner. But there's so many people that want to take that away from kids as soon as possible.
Right.
And it frustrates me so bad that people want to try to take, you know, you talked about raping or grooming kids into sexual things, you know, taking that innocence away. It goes beyond the sexual stuff. It goes into this. The innocence of a child is that they are accepting of all people and they'll be your friend no matter what.
Yep.
And
Right.
anybody that's doing anything outside of that or encouraging
Taking
that,
advantage of it.
taking advantage of it, should be hung up too. I mean, I'll just
Put
say
in a
it.
catapult and shot into the
Yes,
sun.
absolutely. It's just absolutely
man.
asinine to me. And I think my opinion has gotten a lot stronger and louder on that just because I have kids of my own. Call that a bias, whatever.
It's not.
But
I think that's reasonable as a parent.
yeah, but I think, and it's, you know, there's so many people out there that'll like to spin that and say, oh, you just want to have control over your child. That's all it is. No,
You're darn
it's
right
not.
I do.
To an extent.
to an
I'm not trying to let you steer my child down a path that I know is going to lead to pain.
Exactly.
No, nobody gets to
Exactly.
groom my child except for me.
Exactly.
And
Well,
my
you know, it's
uncle.
kind of funny. That's not funny. I used the wrong word there. I listened to the Softcore History podcast, and they were talking about this. They're like, you know, people say all the time, like, I'm worried about pedophiles trying to come after my kids. They're like, do you touch your kids? No. You're probably good, because 90% of children that are actually sexually abused is by their family members.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they're like, you're probably good.
yeah.
Yep.
But there are other aspects like this, like grooming children in the directions
Yep.
of like, oh, are you sure you're a girl?
Yeah.
Do you want to be a boy? Or are
Right.
you sure you're a little boy? Do you want to be a little girl?
Well,
without
you know-
without the parents having any knowledge.
Here's the
that
thing:
is not-
if I'm a teacher, maybe I should ask my wife about this. Maybe she'd have some insight. But
She's doing it.
Can I ask you where? No, probably.
no.
Where does your wife teach at? Is she public school?
Yeah.
Or?
Yep.
Okay.
Public school here in the school district of Beloit.
Okay. And Beloit is honestly a pretty progressive school district.
Yeah, it is.
Surprisingly.
Yes. Yeah.
Growing up, it didn't seem that way, but the
Right.
further I've gotten removed from it, I'm like, Beloit's
Well, it has
out of the
changed.
state of
Further
Wisconsin,
gone.
it's a pretty progressive.
It has changed.
School
I will
district,
say
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But
It was on that roller coaster ride. 'Cause I don't think it was all the way there. You know, it was getting there.
Yeah,
it was on the climb. We got a new pool. We got a new pool, so we were like, yeah. After that,
Right?
I'd be interested to see if teachers. I look at it myself and I think, okay, if I was a teacher and some student came up to me and said, you know, I feel like I'm a girl, but I feel like I might be a boy. I feel like I want to be a boy. What would my response to that be? It wouldn't be, it would not be go talk to the guidance counselor. It wouldn't be, oh, let me talk to you about it. It would be talk to your parents.
Yes.
Yeah.
Talk to your
In
parents.
fact, I'm going to make a note.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm going to
So
I'm
when
going to send them a
parent-teacher
message.
conferences come by, or maybe I'm going to email your
Yeah.
parents if I have their personal contact information. Like, hey, Jessica or Jimmy or whoever came and asked me this question today, and I think this is a discussion you should probably have with your child.
And this is, you know, I'm talking about middle school, high school. You know, if I'm a middle school, high school teacher, and a kid comes up to me and says that, and you know, that's the thing.
It's not like that's a very serious, life-changing thing that they're talking to you about. And it's like, why would the first person you recommend them to not be
right? And my motive as the teacher. My motive as the teacher going, you know, talking to the parent about that is I have genuine concerns about your student's welfare. It has nothing to do.
Exactly. You would hope that the first thought in your teacher's mind is the well-being of your child.
Right.
How they're going to develop.
That being said, though,
the development and the well-being of your child.
That being said, though, there are a lot of parents out there that teachers encounter that don't have the best well-being in mind for their child.
Sure.
And so in that respect, I guess I kind of I don't know.
It's very much a case by case, but
Absolutely.
it should always be first line of defense for
Correct.
parents.
If I have a parent,
and you can feel that out
Yeah,
with the
absolutely.
parent. You can tell when a parent has
You know, if
genuine
you're-
care and like definitely cares about their children and what happens going
if their
forward.
parents are coming to every parent teacher conference and they're genuinely concerned about their kids.
If you have a relationship with their parents,
Yeah.
that should be
Right.
blotter number one.
Yep.
They obviously care
Yep.
because they're paying attention.
Absolutely. Or they're there to complain, in which case you can sniff those out too.
Sure.
But yeah, it just you hear about it so much. You hear about the grooming. Grooming is kind of a buzzword.
Yeah,
but,
it is.
But you have the critical race theory. You have the LGBT stuff. You have all of these different values that these schools are so intent on trying to teach kids the way these things should be, when in reality, it should be things taught by your parents. These are things that you should be having conversations
Those
with
are
your parents
societal
about.
issues.
Right. And it's not necessary. I mean, you can give statistics on stuff, you know, so like right now we're in Black History Month. You know, you can give statistics and you can give history. Don't get me started on whether or not it should have its own month. It should just be American history, in my opinion. It shouldn't have a separate month, but we can get into that.
I do understand the reasoning for
Well, that's
Black
because you're
History
a
Month,
white
though.
man, Zach.
Yeah,
That's why-
exactly.
No,
exactly.
But look,
Yeah, I'll agree
I can't
with being a
understand the
fellow
reason
white
for having
man.
Black History Month. Black people have primarily felt, wronged by this country's
Right,
history.
but
which I
that should be something that's taught every day,
And it
not
should-
just
it
in
should
one
be-
month.
I do agree. It shouldn't just be a month thing.
It should be remedied by
when you're
including
coming
them in
through that.
everything.
When you're coming through the Industrial Revolution period, when you're learning about history, that's I guess that predates. But you know what I mean? That should be its own.
No, I get
that
what
should
you're
be its
saying.
own unit. It shouldn't just be like, oh, we're in February. This is what we're talking about this
Right.
month. It should be like, no,
Right.
this is the point this is the point in American history we're at, and so this is what we're going to talk about.
Exactly, and it shouldn't be, it should be something that's taught in every American history class, regardless of if it's in February or not.
I agree.
And I look,
I think that's where a lot of the argument comes from with that.
Right.
It's not that I don't want it taught at all. It's I don't understand why we're assigning it
right
the way that we are.
Right, and
it is
it's-
American history. Period.
Yeah, period. And I'm not going to be the one to stand here because this argument you hear all
prior
the time.
to getting into this talking about the Vietnam War. Well, now guess what happened in 1960?
Yeah.
Now we're going to talk about the Civil Rights Act.
Yeah.
And everything that came with
Well,
that.
you hear the argument that a lot of people make when you talk about Black History Month. Well, where is there a White History Month? I could care less about White History Month. I don't care. It doesn't need to be something. None of history needs to be secluded.
I'm an
into-
American.
Right,
Teach
exactly.
me American history.
Exactly. And if American history includes our mistakes in the civil rights process, then yes, we talk about it.
Well,
Not just
you
in the
should
month of
absolutely
February.
teach the mistakes your
And
country
we should
has
be,
made along
but we
the
should
lines.
also be talking about Asian American history. We should also be talking about Hispanic American history.
Yeah.
We should be talking about all of those
Gay.
things.
Yeah, not that one.
Just
No,
keep,
No, we should be
just
talking
keep that
about.
metric system away from me.
Yeah,
I
there you
have
go.
a feeling. Not a feeling. I feel like I actually got a pretty good dose of every type of history growing up, and
Yeah,
of
different
course, Black
cultural,
history
like-
was the one that seemed. I don't mean to say the word, but segregated.
Yeah.
Like it was held separately from the rest. Like
Oh, I
you
thought you
didn't
were about to
you
drop
didn't-
the N-word.
No, you didn't learn about it within the other.
Yeah.
It was the only one that was taught. It felt completely separate. Like you learn all of American history from the Revolution till current day. But then you hit February and it's like, all right, now we're going to go back to slave times and we're going to come up to the 60s. It's like, I learned about this. So why don't we talk about any of this? To the
Yeah.
middle of
It
all
became
that?
the whole thing of making like segregation. You know, it's just they're making it like we have to be segregated because we always were.
They
And
want you to
once
think
they
about
lose
it.
that,
But it's
they
like
lose
it's
the
almost by
victimhood.
giving it its own month, you're separating it from American history.
Right.
Like this isn't Black history. This is American history.
Yeah.
When you guys got the
That's what I
census,
hated about that.
for instance, like I wrote American. You know, because it asks you like what you are in your household.
what
Yeah.
I
race?
wrote
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
American, other
Yeah.
American, because
Yeah.
I was like,
I'm
what
gonna
the
write
hell
that. I'm
is
gonna
this?
write that on my Form 1 next time I go buy a gun.
Yeah.
right?
What's your race? American.
Yeah,
But
American.
I feel like, you know, it's the whole, because, you know, what is it's racism is stupid because it's like, it's just no one can control what they look like when they're born, man.
Exactly.
And the fact that we base so much off of those characteristics is the dumbest thing ever.
Well, and here's
people
the thing.
can't see that, and it's stupid.
Well, and
they're
here-
stupid.
The
and I
other
hate
thing
them.
too, the other thing too is the media and the government will push that there is a racial divide in the country that's so large that they create a racial divide themselves. That's what they're doing.
They are digging a deeper
Yeah.
rift.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what they want
and they're
because a
not-
divided America is an easier America to
Right.
mind F.
And they're not coming from the people that grew up in Beloit or other diverse areas where
Right.
it's like everybody clowned on each other. Everybody had a good time.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of racism actually
will
evident
say-
in those places.
And that is one thing that I really value in my education here in Beloit is it was very diverse.
Yeah.
And to be
what
honest
I
with
mean.
you, I really enjoyed having that diversity because you could talk to people and see where they came from on certain things.
Or you're friends with them and you go to visit them at your house.
Exactly.
And you're like, I've never been on this side of town. Or I never, you know what I mean?
Or
It's
they
just
just
like
do
you see where
things
they
differently,
live, and they're
too.
different. It's a
Yeah,
different
you
life.
see the different ways they live,
Right.
you know. You've got
You see the different dynamic between them and their families.
Yeah. Yep.
Or you know.
I still think there was like racism, but it was like softball racism where it was
Yeah,
like,
it didn't-
ha ha ha, you're black, ha ha
Yeah.
ha.
Yeah,
or
well,
like they're just
it's
making
just
just
right.
like
It
amongst
was
friends.
more
Joey,
comedic
it's like when we
relief.
have Mike over here on our
Right.
podcast.
Yeah.
And we talk to Mike and he'll shoot a racist joke at me and I shoot one back at him. We all have a laugh and then we move on into
It's
our
Right.
topic.
exactly what it's like.
Yeah.
And the rest of the world, because you have a bunch of rich white liberals that didn't have the diverse schools growing
You
up. They're
can't
like,
say that.
Yeah,
Mike,
they-
I say that to
they
my
have
black buddy all the
zero
time.
idea.
Yeah.
In fact, he's more likely to punch you in the face for having the reaction you did.
Yeah.
That's fine.
They believe like the stereotypes we use as comedic values here. They believe as like absolutes.
I
and,
know.
Like,
so they're like,
Yeah.
you can't say that out in the
can't do
open.
that.
You have
Like,
to
what
be.
do you mean?
You have to be subtle about that. You
Yeah.
have to say that at home around the dinner
So,
table with your family.
for
with none of
instance,
them around. When
there-
you got to look around, make sure.
Right.
You got to look over your shoulder, make sure none of them are listening
Make sure
when you
no
say
one's
that
there,
stuff.
yeah. But for instance, they came out with that shirt. H&M did it. It was like the coolest monkey in the jungle, and it was for kids. And they just so happened to use a black kid as the model of the shirt. Oh, right. We're all racist comedians here, though, and we're
We
laughing
laugh-
at it.
If I sent that to
But-
Mike, he'd be cracking up.
But
a New York white liberal chick is gonna
they're going to view
just
it
gonna
and
have
be
a meltdown.
outraged.
Yeah.
And they did, and it got canceled.
Well, and
and you
that's-
cannot get that. And I was
Yeah.
like, we call our kids, like my son was referred to as Little Monkey.
Yeah.
So
He's
they're
not
they're-
brown. Well, he's a little tinted, I guess, but
Yeah.
he's
Well, they're having the
brown
that's
at
going
all.
in the quote section. He's a little tinted, I guess.
yeah. Well, they're having a rage fit about like, oh, you can't call them monkeys or stuff like that. But like,
It's racist
you're
to think that's racist.
Yeah, but you're the one who made the definition behind it. So is that
Right.
not the problem?
like
Yeah,
my mind
it's like,
didn't
you can't call
instantly
him
go
a
there.
monkey. That's racist.
Yeah.
Why is it racist? Please do explain what you mean by that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, are you trying to do comedy right
And-
now? Because I'll
the
laugh.
other thing that's so funny to me too is that it's it's all of these white people complaining about how it's racist.
Yeah.
You know,
I know.
Oh,
and then
God.
you see like black dudes reacting to it, and they're just like,
Yeah.
"This is the most
I've
annoying
got to
shit
think,
I've ever heard."
you know, logically, I look at that and I think, man, if I were a black man, I'd be so upset.
They are literally more outraged that people
Yeah.
are outraged on their behalf when they
Yeah.
are not upset at all.
Yeah,
Right.
dude. And,
They're like, "Quit telling me what I need to be mad
and
at."
are there, are there other people? Are there African American males that actually get upset about this stuff? I'm sure there are. There are.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, most of the time, the words that you're saying, the intent needs to be what's foremost in that
Me
conversation.
and Joey got a good example from yesterday. We were playing on a video game with our buddy, and we're all white. We grew up in ghetto Beloit, and one of our white friends.
Hey! I'm not fucking white.
That's two. We can't afford two.
Look at Joey over here.
I'm just
Look
kidding.
at Joey over here getting upset about
We'll
race.
let it go. Super upset. He dropped a second F-bomb.
So my buddy Mike,
Make
our
sure to
buddy
tag
Mike,
this one
he's
explicit.
black, and one of our white friends, Joey's not white. I'll
No,
say that.
Yeah,
again.
what needs to? Yeah, obviously I'm gonna get upset about calling me white. I need my privilege.
He made a
Took his heart away from him.
He made a racial statement meant to be funny. Well, actually, no. It
Well,
wasn't.
gamer words are gamer
We
words,
always
right?
say them meaning to be funny. In this case, he was mad at our buddy Mike when he said it, and Mike checked him on it. He was like, "You don't just get to call me that, especially when you're mad."
Yeah.
And he got so butthurt and so upset about it that he left the game. Like,
Oh,
it just
jeez.
cracked us up, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure I said the same thing 15 seconds prior to him saying it. You know? But it was just a tone. You know, we're joking, we're having a good time, we're just laughing, having laughs, and then all of a sudden he gets mad and says it, and it's like, I don't like the tone you said it in. I'm like, fair enough.
Yeah.
Right?
You know,
That's funny.
it's like you don't get to say it like you're mad at me. Like it's like, no, you actually meant that as a slur. When these guys say it, they're saying it as a joke. You said it as a slur,
Right.
So don't do that.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he got mad and left, and is like, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, but it was just like one of those things. It's like any other time, perfectly fine.
Right.
It just
and
depends.
that's funny.
and see, that's the other thing too. Is it goes back to the whole my truth thing. It's like, how can we conduct a society based off of everyone's truths?
You can't, man.
You can't.
There's too much gray. There's only gray area.
Only
Nothing
gray
else
area.
left, and
It's
nothing
not. It's
else.
not too much gray. It's only gray area.
The only thing that society should lead to is a bunch of books. People should just start writing their truths
Well, I'm
down.
gonna start burning them.
Oh, and that's your truth.
Yep. Tell me I'm wrong.
Hey, man.
No, that's the thing.
We're gonna have a lot of fires and a lot of authors.
Well, and it honestly
Gonna need
should be.
more authors for all this burning books we got
In
planned.
a bigger fire pit.
Here's the other thing too: is we've got podcasts now. Where there's podcasts is the new talk radio that was always so popular. If you have an opinion about something, start a podcast on it. Don't
start a podcast. Nobody else start a podcast. There's enough.
There is enough. I don't want to hear someone's stupid opinion.
But at the same
Especially
time,
not my own.
but at the same time though. At the same time, you have all of these outlets to express your opinion. Don't try to force them on kids.
Yeah.
Oh, true.
Talk about it.
Unless
right,
they're
back
the
to the
right
kids.
opinion.
And why is it always kids? Why does it have to be kids?
Because they're the most
Why
easy
would
to manage.
adults
are
just shun you?
Yeah.
Why would
why.
adults just shun you and say you're an idiot?
Exactly.
And
That's what
kids
used
are
to happen.
impressionable and might just agree with
Hey,
you.
before the internet, that's what used to happen. Those
Yeah.
people were shunned in the darkest corners of the alley.
Yeah.
and then the internet happened, and they all
Yep.
found each other.
Yep. See, that's what I'm talking about. There's no. If you have an opinion about something, keep it to yourself or keep it among
man.
other adults. Don't try to
freedom
force
of
other
speech.
kids.
Well, yeah, don't force kids. Don't force your weird crap on kids.
That's what
anyways.
That's what I meant by it.
And
Yeah.
even because they come back with Christianity, you're teaching kids about religion and God, and that's coming from that whole secular belief, and it's like, yeah, but these are I'm their parent, so
Right.
I
Yeah.
can groom my kids to our beliefs.
Explain to
believe it
me.
or not.
Explain to me the problem with teaching them Christian values.
Well,
Well,
no, they're claiming that it's grooming and that it's
Yeah.
detrimental to their accepting.
These are
of
the same
these
That
other
I'm
values.
teaching them that I'm teaching them the lessons that Jesus left for us about love and acceptance.
Well,
Right.
Look, these
I
are the
get it.
same
Look, I'm not
people.
saying every Christian does follow what Jesus
Oh, sure.
taught us about
Yeah.
love and acceptance,
Sure.
but the values that Jesus left for us are excellent and
Yeah.
great
Yeah.
foundations.
But these are
of
the same
society.
people that say if you need religion to have morals and know what's right and wrong, then I don't know what's wrong.
You
with
don't have to be religious to even just look at the Bible and say,
Yeah.
yes, the values taught in there are good for society.
And you know, again, the other argument from the other side of the coin is that, oh, well, those aren't we think that these morals are better to teach them. Basically.
Really, nobody else ever in history ever did until right now at this day and age.
But
and
the
look
point
at how
is-
society is going.
The point is you know, if you want to teach your kids something that I don't necessarily believe, you know what? Go ahead.
That's the
fine.
thing. Nobody's looking at the Hindus or the Muslims or anybody
It's
else
the
and
Christians.
saying, "What are you grooming your children into
Right.
believing what they believe?"
Right.
I do agree. I
and
see
it's
that.
the Christians, and it's the Christians that automatically get the crosshairs on them. Oh, you're teaching your kids to be
No pun intended.
Yeah, exactly. They're that's where they point to is, oh, you're teaching your kids to be intolerant towards the LGBTQ plus community.
If you are
You're
truly teaching your children in the Christian values, you are not
you're
teaching
not.
intolerance.
No, and the thing is,
in fact, quite the opposite.
Yeah. But at the end
But
of
that's
the
the
day,
problem. As any religion, you can look at it and say
Yeah,
you're teaching intolerance. It's like
100%.
that they are not teaching their religion properly because
Yeah.
there's not a single majority religion in this world today that
Right.
teaches intolerance.
Right.
But that's just how far the scales have tipped, that it's actually mainstream to think we are so close to them saying minor attracted persons is actually a
Yes.
protected class.
Yes.
We are dangerously close to and because they slip it in every now and
I
again.
think that's the day that I actually go full
white supremacist domestic terrorist.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
or what
no,
they would,
no.
what they would deem
That is not
as.
being recorded.
No,
but
I'm sorry.
yes,
That's
what they would deem
absolutely.
as. Yeah.
No, that article's already been written. I'm saying they're just waiting for the fill in the blank.
Right.
You know,
The
because
day
they're
that
waiting
that-
for all this stuff
The
to
day that
happen.
that happens is the day that I'm just like, all right, we're never going to return to normal society,
Right.
and
Yeah.
we're just done.
Well, I'm probably, man, it's sad, but I'm actually looking at other countries, like where can we go? And right now, El Salvador is looking pretty good.
Isn't there a war going on there right now?
El Salvador?
I'm thinking of Ecuador.
You're at an hour 35.
There's a civil war in Ecuador.
Okay.
So in El Salvador, no, that was where they locked up all the criminals, and then they were like, "Oh, this guy's so bad, he locked everyone up," and now they're like the lowest crime rate ever.
What's the
in
other
the
one
world.
that the
Argentina sounds good too.
I was just saying, is that the one that the libertarian just got elected in?
The super libertarian.
Yeah.
Where he's just like
Where
getting
he,
rid of
he
all the
fired
bureaucracy.
like 85% of the government on day one.
That's
Where he's just
awesome.
like,
Yeah, it's
look, your
amazing.
office has no reason for existing, so you're just a leech on the taxpayer dollar.
And you know what? I think all this is possible due to the CIA being so busy running the Russian war and everything else right now.
Is it all right that I grab one of these?
Are you serious?
The only one?
Asking for a beer.
Isn't there another one in the other fridge?
I don't think so.
I think there was.
I got it.
Oh,
Thanks,
he's
buddy.
got it.
Just cucked me.
Oh,
He's lying.
So you wrapping up thoughts then?
Yeah, I think so.
Honestly, I get pretty heated about this stuff, and I know you guys too. It's kind of evident, but I guess what's one way we could fix this stuff, because we spend a lot of time talking about how it should be, but what's one way do you think that we could definitely in a positive way and in a constructive way fix the problems that we're talking about right now?
Which
as a
one
society?
specifically, I suppose?
Get rid of uncles.
Uncle Touchy's closet? You guys never spend some time in Uncle Touchy's
I guess
game
No,
closet?
actually, that's not very common.
what I'm referring to is the grooming of young children, whether it's racism or the critical race theory, whether it's on the LGBT
Okay,
stuff.
perfect.
Yeah,
I have an answer for this right now.
Go for it.
People might not like it. I don't even have children currently, but this is just my opinion. Homeschooling, if possible.
I would second that.
Are you a
You made it too
homeschooler?
easy.
Yep.
Are you a homeschooler?
I am.
You made it too
Well,
easy.
look, here's the
Colton.
thing. You're removing all the independent variables that come with putting them in the public school system and all the potential downsides that could come with. I'm not even saying there's downsides to being in the public school system.
Not all of them,
I
right?
feel like we had a wonderful experience in the public school system growing up. You probably yourself included, and probably even you. I don't think you were you homeschooled or
No, I definitely went through the public school system,
well,
which
where did
is
you go
why
to, where
we
did you go to
homeschool.
school?
See, I went to 3 different high schools. I kind of transferred around, but I did graduate from Beloit.
You're from Beloit, okay. Where did you go before that?
It was
Anywhere around
Florida,
here?
Florida, and Texas.
Okay.
Two very.
I guess
different
those are very
schools.
different.
Three
very different, I'm sure.
Very different cultures. Obviously, the Houston, a lot of Hispanic. It was even the school. The mascot was the Lobos, wolves
Yeah,
in Spanish. So I mean, it's and Houston. I mean, obviously you're super close to the border. But it was great. That was actually a school where all the cliques, you had your nerds, you had your goth kids, you had your cheerleaders, but they all interacted with each other and they all got along with each other. There was very little bullying and like fights that happened.
And I feel like Beloit was the same way, honestly. They were very drastically different cliques, but everybody...
For the most part. Yeah. For the most part. I'd say it got a little bit more violent than some of the other places I went to.
And I think that a lot of that has to do with our proximity to...
Chicago.
And Rockford.
Yeah.
I honestly think
Chicago.
I think Rockford's worse than Chicago.
Actually,
maybe
per
population-wise?
capita, it is.
Yeah.
Was. I'm not sure anymore.
Well, that's the thing. We're 20 minutes away from Rockford. A lot of that activity spills over to here.
Yep.
And
Rockford
that's the
is-
majority of what it
yeah.
was. It was generally seniors that are in gang activity.
Yeah. And middle school. Well, when I was
They were
there was a
early
lot of middle
graduates.
schoolers. A lot of middle schoolers that were involved in the gangs.
Really?
Yeah. That's when it started, at least. And
that
it
might have
seemed
been
like
the same way here, but I guess probably in middle school I was probably a little more close to my friend group and didn't really get involved.
Right.
Yeah.
I was one of those kids that, like, I could go to...
Plus, I was a nerd in middle school, dude. I was like, I'm getting bullied unless I stay with my group.
For sure, man. I just remember there being 2 different places you could eat lunch, and I could go to either one, because people self-segregated to their clique groups, right? But I could go to like either one and sit at any table and have someone to talk to, and it'd be someone different. I could probably do that, every day.
Yeah.
And I just got along with everybody. So I
Well,
loved having that
when I was
availability.
When I was in school, you could have made a joke out of the table that I sat with. There's a white guy, Mexican guy, black guy, and an Arab guy sitting at the lunch table. I mean, that's the way it was. I sat at a lunch table like that. That's, I really
the token
enjoyed that.
lunch table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so homeschooling, that's definitely a good way.
If it's an option that's available for you, I would pursue it.
For sure.
Even if the school district's good, because not all school districts are necessarily having all this go on.
Right.
But, I mean, they're at the mercy of so much, and you're removing so many, because, like...
Dude, I'm in Madison now. When I have kids, it'll probably absolutely be
good.
homeschooling.
I mean, there you're talking metal detectors in schools. Exactly. Some of the urban center public schools where metal detectors,
Madison,
those are basically
Milwaukee,
prisons.
for us here in Wisconsin.
Those are basically prisons.
I will
getting
tell
you ready
you-
for the prison system.
I will say, I will lend some light on the public school system too right now is, when we were kids, Colton, in this school district, if you lived in a certain area, you went to a certain school.
Mm-hmm.
They've done away with that, which I think has been good because now the only thing is if you're within the district's lines, you go to a school somewhere in the district, or you can send your kids to a private school.
You can't live where I grew up, where I went to Beloit
Yeah.
Memorial, and say, "Well, I'm going to."
And
send
you
them
still
to Turner.
can. You still can because I live in Janesville, but my kids go to Beloit. My wife's a teacher.
Memorial. Okay.
Yeah, my wife's
Or-
a teacher
well,
in the
not
school
Memorial.
district. Yeah, but so they allow those things to happen, right?
Okay.
My point is that you're not pigeonholed to one school, and I think what that does is that eliminates a certain neighborhood or a certain demographic in a neighborhood are just going to be with that same demographic.
Sure.
I think what that breeds is a challenge.
Diversity from you're starting younger,
Right.
Because
And if you-
growing up, it was very much elementary school, all kids from your neighborhood.
Yeah.
Middle school, a few more kids from a slightly
Yep.
bigger neighborhood.
Yep.
Go to high school. Oh, look,
now the
everybody
city's
from the
here.
entire
Yep.
city's here.
Yep.
That's what's
I
the cool thing
barely-
about Beloit. Because, I mean, there is 2 different districts, but the other district's tiny in comparison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other one,
for
like,
sure.
filters.
Turner?
You're right.
Turner's just the suburbs.
It's just, it's just all the rich
It's
kids
just
go
the
up there.
burbs over
or
here.
the ones
Yeah.
that get expelled from this one then go up there, which is
Yeah.
a really weird dynamic, but they
Yeah.
figure it out.
Yeah.
Well, and I think the part that breeds too is if me as a parent has a problem with what school A is teaching my kids, I have the option to go to school B.
Yeah.
Well,
and
that's
I
the
think,
voucher program too that they're trying to push in a lot of places.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that does breed a lot better of a social construct than just pushing all of the kids in the same neighborhood into the same school. I get that there's a little bit of camaraderie there, and you have your friends in the same neighborhood as you. I get that, but at the same time, parents should also have the choice to be able to pull their kids out of one school and put them into another school
Right.
based off of what they're
At
being
whatever
taught.
X factor.
Yeah, and before that was just at the very
Unheard of.
least highly discouraged by the school district.
Well, it just didn't happen unless like you said there was some sort of punitive action against the student, like this kid got expelled from this school.
It used
now
to be
the only
highly
option is to
discouraged.
move them to the other school.
Yeah, because my wife was a teacher before they decided to do this.
Yes,
and it was highly discouraged that your kids go to another school except for the one that your map says it should be.
And let's be fair too, it was discouraged until they decided to close a bunch of schools and make it so that wasn't really the way they
No,
could
it was
do
before that
anymore.
even. It was before that
Was
even.
it?
Yeah.
They started letting them interchange before they started closing up all these schools?
Yep, sure did. That's the only reason my daughters were actually able to go
I wonder
to...
if that's why then that they closed some of the schools that they did.
All the students are leaving this school and coming to this school. Okay, close that one, leave that one open.
You know, that might be the end goal of this, but the fact that that's like that whole bean counter financial, like you're not looking at the best interest. You're just looking.
Whoa, what do you mean?
Oh,
bean
you like
counter?
my bean counter? Yeah. I don't. What do you mean by bean counter?
All right,
I mean someone who likes to count the beans.
All right, just making sure.
But it's that whole
I'm talking about
mentality
juice.
of thinking. Hey man, whatever. The shoe fits, wear it, I guess. But some of them are, I'm sure. But I mean, with that whole thing of looking at everything through a financial gain versus if it's actually a, beneficial for society. Is it beneficial for me or beneficial for society type of thing? I kind of compare it to playing video games. You like min-max in a video game, like a role-playing game or something, where it's like you find the best gear, certain stats or whatever, and these are going to make you the best.
Max evil, max good.
Well, you can make like literally like AI simulators to like run your character stats through. It's like, yep, this will be the best combination of whatever you can do and the talents and whatever you pick and all your character abilities. And that happened in video games, and it's like if you play not on that level, like you'll never be top dog, right? But it's kind of like that spilled into real life now, and we kind of have this whole min-max mentality on life. And that's kind of my whole thing with corporates. They're always like, oh, we had a really good year, but we got to do better next year. We always have to do better. And
Always
it's like,
has to do better. Max profits.
right?
This year.
And it's like, why can't you just find that maintain? Like we got this line.
You can
now.
you can never maintain where you were. It's like,
let's just
hey,
keep
this was
here.
really good. This was really good for everyone.
Right.
So now let's stretch it even further and make you guys work more hours. And
yeah, exactly.
You'll
It's
make
like,
more
you did
money.
really good,
It's like
but-
you're taking more of my free time away.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, that whole
They never
kind of
find the
mentality
sweet
of
spot.
things.
They're always going for that
Yeah.
step further. Yeah.
And you think about schooling too. Back in the day, it started. I mean, most of the boys were out by noon because they were out working. You did a little bit of arithmetic basically, and then you're working the fields. You're out working, doing what you need to do to survive. And we've lost a lot of that, which in the schooling system and the education, there's really little reason to go to college and higher learning institutes. And now we've made it even for our lives. It was, you have to go to college, otherwise you're not going to count for anything. Like you have to go there.
Yeah, and high school was basically my proof that bullshit. I'm not going to college.
Right.
I'm struggling here, dude. You think I'm going to do better
Yeah.
there when nobody's sitting there trying to help me?
But it was never like go into your career. It was like you need to go to college.
Right.
Like it was always
yeah. What are you thinking about for the future? Oh, I'm thinking about
Right.
doing this job.
But
you weren't thinking about going to college,
Right.
Yeah.
What do you mean? I just told you I'm planning on doing an apprenticeship for a trade.
But realistically, if you're not studying theory or medicine or law, a reason to go to college where you have time to study the books, the things that have been written. Yeah, some STEM for sure, advanced engineering, architecture type stuff. Like when you're doing like skyscrapers, you don't want for sure.
You
There's
don't want
some
a high school graduate.
You definitely want someone that's had time to be able to look over more schematics and like had that time to like
Sure.
have
well,
that
even at Belay
experience.
Memorial, they offered us a blueprint reading class. And you know what?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
absolutely regret never taking that
They-
class.
Yeah.
Oh, really? They were huge on engineering.
I took a lot
at that
of
school.
the tech courses that they offered. Like I took auto technology, welding.
Oh, yeah, the auto course was cool.
All those. I loved auto tech, especially because you got to leave
Did
the
you-
school and go to the off-campus
Did
location.
they,
Yeah, right.
did they have CNC machines in there?
They
when you-
did.
Did they?
Okay,
Did
so
you
I
ever
never-
get to
I
that
missed
course?
that.
No.
We went and roofed a house in the hood.
Oh yeah, you did the
Yeah.
the
We got to do
construction,
that.
the house build. Yep.
Yep. And then we did surveying.
I did the construction, I did the welding, and I did the auto technology.
Yeah.
Right. And courses like that are great. And I feel like, but if high schools can offer these things, because like those are careers that pay good, they're needed, they're
Yeah.
necessary, they're like 100% necessary, and
And it also helps you maybe you're considering the trades. You take the course. Oh, it's not for me.
Right.
Or, oh, I absolutely
You get a
love
little
this.
bit
I'm absolutely going to pursue this.
Here's the
after
thing.
school.
Here's the thing that guidance counselors don't tell you when you're in high school too is trades. When you start as an apprentice and you're learning on the job, guess what? You ain't paying student loans.
Yeah.
And you're
So
being paid to be an apprentice.
You're being paid. So on top of that,
you're being paid to not know how to do your job.
You have 4 years. You have 4 years of direct experience in a career before someone that goes off to college, earns their degree, even gets a base level job. And by the time that you're 4 years vested in your career,
and your
as a tradesman,
your tuition
is
a tenth
exactly
of what they're paying.
Exactly. By the time that they're out of school and they have this degree that tells them they can get a job in a certain
And then they
field,
go to that job and they're like, well, you have no on-the-job experience.
Well,
you have book smarts.
Well, yeah.
Whereas
but
in the trades, it's
most
you
of the
have
time,
the physical experience of doing this job the entire time
most of the
you've done this apprenticeship.
Most of the time, if you have 4 years experience in the trades, chances are you're going to be, most likely you're going to be making a bigger amount of money than that person that has the degree starting out. And on top of that, you're going to be looked upon by other employers as a value because you have so much experience.
Right.
You know? And so that's two pluses that say, oh, maybe I should go into trades. You know, I don't think that there are enough people that, we can talk about that too, but the schools don't incentivize it at all. They don't incentivize it at all.
Beloit has started to, which
that is good.
It was when I was, but it's like, what, you have to. You've invested this much money into the tech department, like the skilled trades department of this school. Why would you not try to also push that? If you are even interested, go take these courses. Look how much money. There are CNC machines down there. Do you have any idea how much one of those machines costs?
Yeah.
It's insane.
And
that
we
they
have four
those,
of them
man.
down in our CNC department for you guys to go play around with and learn how to use.
Yep.
It's crazy that people don't take advantage of those things that they're available.
CNC,
but they're not available everywhere, man. Like that.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like the school voucher whole deal that we were talking about. It's like because a lot of the states that do it actually, like even the homeschoolers would get their that money. And it's like a homeschooler with that money, you know what you can do with that? And to teach your kids some like legitimate stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
You could actually enroll them too when they're older in college level courses.
Right.
You could just have them go to college in like almost middle school, young freshman age or whatever of high school at that point. And I feel like with because it's basically answering your question here, Zach, the longest way possible. But the whole homeschooling thing plays a lot into it, and it's one of those things of it's nice because right now I can do a lot of activities while kids are at school, such as the batting cages are empty from 10 a.m. till like 2 p.m. You know what I'm saying?
There's your PE.
Your PE. Not even just that, but like just the different ninja courses, like the different obstacle courses and gymnastics courses set up a lot of homeschooling things.
The pool.
The YMCA does a lot of different events, but like there's all these things you can find, and the more it becomes a popular thing, you're going to have ex-teachers and ex-professors actually providing like the advanced courses as pod learning, like a chemistry teacher or something, something that's a little bit more advanced that you wouldn't expect mom to be able to teach, or the layman's be able to teach. And that provides you to be able to keep homeschooling through high school.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I would agree. Homeschooling should be encouraged.
If you can,
for a lot
sure.
of people, if you can, that's exactly it. The other thing too is I believe is in the public schooling system, they need to be able to encourage that cross neighborhood gap where they can go to any school that they feel is better, but also I think that there needs to be a lot more of parental involvement in a child's education, because anymore nowadays it just seems like it's, for a lot of teachers, it seems like it's just one extra hoop that they have to jump through, you know, and they act like it's, just a terrible thing.
Parents almost look at it like it's just free daycare.
Yeah. Exactly.
100%.
And so there is definitely a parental thing that needs to change in our society, but it's also the schooling system that needs to stop encouraging programs like this to stop happening. And I think that parental involvement in this stuff, how many times have you seen a parent go to a school board meeting and they're just poo-pooed and shoot off the off the podium because reason X, Y, Z.
Have any contradictory statement than anybody
exactly.
else there.
Exactly. Right. Any sort of contradictory statement, and they're boo, they're just shut down right away. Yeah. Stuff like that.
But by
needs to
the
be,
school board, but like the other parents there, like I'd like to hear what he had to say.
Exactly. And so I think there needs to be a lot more. Actually, to be honest with you, when we were in school, there was always the what was it called? The parents
parent-teacher organization.
Yeah, PTO.
Oh yeah.
I've never gotten an invite or anything for PTO, and I remember my parents used to get annoyed by the offerings of PTO for them to join
mine
the PTO.
Too. My parents would never
I haven't
go.
gotten Colton. I'm telling you, my oldest has been in school for 4.5, 5 years now. I haven't gotten a single one. I don't think it exists. I don't think a PTO is a thing.
They don't even do it anymore.
I don't think they do it.
Well, probably not. That's the problem. Is disinvolvement of parents.
That's exactly
leads to
it.
Well, the school district's like, well, they obviously don't care, so we'll just keep doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
And you've removed the now one section where you could come in and say, well, what is actually going on here?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Now you have to go straight to the superintendent.
Yeah. Yep. Or
crazy.
wait for the school board meetings that are closed and watch them on your local access network.
It's like you've removed the lowest level possible of involvement, and like this is like your lowest level to try to mitigate whatever it is you're worried about, and you've removed it, and now you've required yourself to go a step higher.
Yep.
And now, the higher you get, the harder it gets to actually implement what you're trying to be worried about.
Yeah, parents need to be more involved. I guess that's my answer.
Yeah.
Is in public schooling, parents need to be more involved.
Speaking of being more involved, nothing could be more involved than drinking beer first thing in the morning. So we're all drinking different things here this morning.
It's noon, man.
I'm so involved. I'm so involved in my kids' lives that I'm at a completely different location than them drinking beer.
Exactly. That's just how hard it can be.
That's a healthy parent relationship.
So I've drank a couple different things: the Absolute Vodka Cran Pineapple, sparkling deliciousness, and then a Blue Moon Haze. Because I thought, you know what, a little bit of beer, orange juice mixture couldn't be too bad. And Joe, you're gonna have to help me out on this. What is this? Soju.
Yeah, I had a little bit of that.
That's
too.
racist.
Is it?
It was
crap.
I had a little bit of that. It
guess.
Was pretty good too.
Yeah, I'm gonna pour a little. It's kind of like I'm taking shots of it. Joey says, to make you seem like you're not an alcoholic. So I guess drinking one of these is the equivalent of 3 beers. So
yeah, it's high percentage.
It's good though.
Sure.
It's definitely curry and yummy. So
I was drinking some ooftas that we had left over, which are always a good choice. But last time we were over, Joey recommended or asked me if I would try this Red Horse beer, which I've tried before. Is this a Filipino beer, exclusively Filipino, or is it? I mean, I tried to. It just says
he tried to.
You just
he gave it his best shot.
You just heard him say he went through the public school system.
It's imported by Skaggs Incorporated in Irvine, California. So I didn't know. It doesn't say that it's specifically.
I guarantee it has a product of somewhere on there.
Oh, Philippines. Yeah. Okay. Okay, yeah, it says expertly brewed and packaged under the supervision of San Miguel.
Describe that one for me. I'm curious. Never heard of it.
It's good. It's a full-bodied beer. It's more like a lager, but it's also got some citrusy and like fruity tones to it. So it's good. Normally I don't like the sweeter beers, and to be perfectly honest with you, after drinking an oofta, anything's gonna seem a lot lighter than that. But it's good. It's really good. It's got, like I said, it's got a little bit of the fruity notes to it, but it's still a full-bodied beer. It's not like a IPA or a sour or anything. It's good.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
I absolutely hate the IPAs.
Me too. One of these times, though, Kyle, I've said it before. We've got to just get straight up IPAs and just drink those and see how we like them.
Struggle through one for the next hour.
Right. Yep.
Pick up some.
How many have you
fancy
had?
craft brew.
Just one. Actually, half of one.
About a quarter.
Yeah. You know what's worse than an IPA? A warm IPA.
Warm grass water.
What are you drinking over there, Colton?
Well, I've had a couple of the Absolute Vodka Crans.
Yeah.
Vodka Cran Pineapples. Pretty good, I'd say.
They actually really are,
This is really good. And I just finished my Shinerbach. So I'm a big fan of Shinerbach. I don't know what it is about that beer, man. anytime I open that fridge and I see Shinerbach in there, I'm like, I'm grabbing that.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a nostalgia thing. I joined the Marine Corps. All my buddies from Texas turned me onto it because, of course, they're from Texas and it's a Texas beer. So you gotta drink Shiner. That's their Coors Light, I guess. I don't know.
Okay.
But it's so good.
Yeah.
I enjoy it very much.
It seems like we've liked a lot of the box that we've had.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a heavier beer than like a lager. Very easy drinking, though. I don't know. I enjoy it a lot. I could probably sit down and drink those all night.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's not something that you want to. You're going to a party and you're expecting to get properly lubricated.
But if I'm gonna go I'm gonna sit in here and record a podcast with you and drink
for sure
3-4 beers,
that's the one.
I can drink 3-4 of them.
Yeah,
no problem. And
I do like the box, man. I've been like since UFTA, I think I've been like on a Bach like kick.
Yeah,
actually, the UFTA I just found out is a double Bach.
Well, there you go, man.
So
it's double the Bach.
I think you mean Doppelbach.
Let's see. Let me. Can you expect this?
Doppelbach.
Maybe it is. I don't know.
That probably just means double in German.
Probably. Probably. But thing about doppelganger, that's German for a double. Anyway. So we'll wrap it up there. But if we do have social media platforms now. We've got Facebook, we've got TikTok, we've got Instagram. Those are up. I've got some stuff that I'm going to post on there. So if anyone has any suggestions on what we can record on, or anyone that would like to be a guest on our show, please feel free. Reach out to us. Let us know what you want to talk about or what you want us to talk about. And we're always open to those considerations, aren't we, Kyle?
Yeah, absolutely. And make sure to subscribe, like, and share the podcast with people. If you think they'd benefit from hearing.
Yeah, for sure. We're trying to get this out to as many people as we can, not just to kind of boost our egos, but to get these kind of messages out there that we feel we aren't talked about enough. So
yeah, it definitely seems like it's a one-sided conversation. So we're trying to bring it up.
Yeah, but all right. Well,
thanks for listening, guys.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everybody, and we'll catch you next time.
Later.